By Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, Dave Locker and Adam Scher. And I'm letting you know right now, if you head over to awesomemode.com, we're giving out 10-year, decade-long passes to awesomemode.com for free. What do you think of that, Adam?
I don't have anything to say.
Look, I'm an asshole, guys. I didn't expect that to happen. I was trying to do something good for everyone, you know. So my apologies. Obviously, it's not a laughing matter. I quite frankly, I was pretty upset about the whole thing, but we move on, and no good deed goes unpunished, I guess. But anyway, Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, sponsor of the Deeper Dive. We've got the 200K NFL baller coming up this weekend, and of course tonight on Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, if you're looking to get in that NBA action, $10 30K prize pool, 5K to first, the NBA 30K baller. Get your YSRPs, your Yahoo Sports rewards points. Sign up through us at awesomemode.com. Use the NFL tab, click on the articles, and you'll see the link to yesterday's Showdown article. The link for Yahoo's right at the top, or our trusty social media guys will throw the link right into the YouTube chat right here and get you set up. So when you deposit, you get up to $30 in YSRPs, good as cash, to be used on the site to win, or to be used on Yahoo to win and play real money. So there you have it. Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, sponsor of the Deeper Dive. How you doing today, man?
Doing good. Been busy. This slate took a lot of time to break down, put into the deep dive article. Lots of value opened up, lots of different ways you can go. So should be pretty fun to talk about.
Okay. So we got 8 games. I'm imagining what's that?
7 games.
Sorry, 7 games. I'm imagining the deep dive took a long time for you to write today.
Yeah, it took forever because you just had so many teams where you had to kind of not only figure out minutes projections, but then try and figure out rates for players. And it's still hard at this point of the season, especially with so many guys on new teams, because you have really, really limited sample sizes. It was difficult, but it was actually pretty fun to go through game by game.
Okay. By the way, I think it cut off. What I was saying is earlier. I don't think it started. Apologies to everybody. Look, I don't run the site, but I still feel like there's some obligation to say apologies to all of our premium subs. Definitely not what you want to happen an hour before lock. So I apologize, of course, for that. Clearly didn't anticipate that being the case. If that was the case, I never would have, offered something of such large, massive proportions. But we're here, and in case it cut off, I think everyone said that they didn't catch it earlier. My heartfelt apologies to anybody who was affected yesterday by the site going down. All right, let's kick it off with Charlotte and Memphis. This game to start is 2 bad teams in a game that actually has a decent total, 221. 111.75 for the Hornets, 109.3 for Memphis, 221 over under. Hornets 2.5 point favorites here. The big thing with this is there aren't really a ton of good players on either side, but that doesn't mean there aren't good fantasy options. Devontae Graham, however, price is getting up there. He has played well. And of course, you're getting pretty solid minutes from him. Terry Rozier is going to be chalky today. I get it. His price is down. It makes total sense. Actually, in our NBA syllabus, there are a few guys that have him listed as their top cash guy. Actually, 3 of them. I think I'm the only one that doesn't, Adam. So that doesn't mean I don't like him, but there are a few I actually think are more of a staple in cash than he is. Let's kick it off with you, Charlotte Hornets. What are we doing against the Grizz?
So I think that this game and a lot of games, it's going to be really, really site dependent, more so than usual. DraftKings, for whatever reason today, like every player on the site, it's more of a question of, is it a good play or a great play? FanDuel, the pricing's a lot tighter. So when you look at the Charlotte side on DraftKings, you have, $5,600 Rozier, as you mentioned. If he can manage not to pick up 3 fouls in the first 12 minutes of the game, he should play, around 34 minutes. Still has the highest usage rate on the team at 24%. Pace up spot against Memphis, not a good Memphis defense either. So really, really good play there. Whereas he's 7,000 on FanDuel, so he's fine, but not the clear underpriced play that he is on DraftKings. But then you look at Devontae Graham, who on DraftKings is like $1,300 more expensive than Rozier. On FanDuel, he's only $200 more expensive. Better per minute player, has not had an issue getting minutes this year anyway, but with Dwayne Bacon out, should have an even easier path to playing time. So on FanDuel, I prefer Graham to Rozier, whereas on DraftKings, I think Rozier is the better option.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's very cheap. The funny thing too is there are also, you had posted in our premium Slack chat, right? I saw this as you posted our article. We always alert our premium subs when we post our premium articles. You're like, I think you said something to the extent of everyone's a good play on DraftKings today.
Yeah, it was really difficult because normally I just kind of I use DraftKings pricing and then point out if something's different on FanDuel. But it was really difficult today to like narrow down what players to talk about because everyone is underpriced on DraftKings to the point where ownership probably won't be crazy on most guys because everyone's underpriced.
All right. So anybody on Charlotte you really like? I mean, we already talked Rozier. What about the rest of this Hornets team?
Yeah, so beyond that, it's just kind of secondary options. Like I think PJ Washington is underpriced, especially on DraftKings at 5,300. Probably plays 34 to 36 minutes. Not a core play, but somewhere you can go to. Same goes for Zeller at what's actually a pretty weak center position today. Miles Bridges should play big minutes, but I think for me the priorities are the two guys in the backcourt, Rozier specifically on DraftKings and Graham on FanDuel.
Okay, talking Memphis here, Jaren Jackson Jr. You remember last year I had we did a contest who could think of the best nickname for Jaren Jackson that had to do with foul trouble?
Jaren Jackson.
Jaren Jackson Jr. That's right. And I'm not. Let's not pretend that all of that has changed this year. He's been a little bit better, but that's obviously the Jaren Jackson. That's obviously the biggest issue when it comes to him. But you're getting him at a really solid price point here, going up against a bad Charlotte team with an inferior defense. What are your thoughts on Jackson? Is the bottom 8 defensive team, not a fast paced team, but all in all, this game should play at a decent. You should see a decent amount of possessions. Memphis isn't that slow, grinded out team that we've seen in the past. Does Jaren Jackson appeal to you at 4,800 on DraftKings?
Yeah, on DraftKings at 4,800, I think it's a really strong play. Especially you can roster him at power forward or center, which normally it would be a preference that you can roster him at power forward. But today, with the way that value plays out, I think being able to get him at center is kind of a boost as well. He's $7K on FanDuel. That's a pretty tough price point to stomach. He played 38 minutes last game, only picked up 2 fouls. Obviously, you can't project that kind of playing time, but it's nice to at least know it's in the range of outcomes for him. I have him, I think the most reasonable projection is 30 to 32 minutes. But against the Charlotte team that, isn't a good defensive team. And also, not that you want to predict foul trouble, but they don't have a high usage front court between Zeller, Washington, Miles Bridges. Most of the usage is coming from the backcourt. So as long as you would think, as long as he's not getting out of position and hacking guys on drives to the basket, he should be okay there. So I think that, a core play for me on DraftKings.
I like him a lot there as well. Both of us honestly have always been, dating back to last year, pretty big Jackson dudes, just because he's capable of producing across the box score, right? And I like knowing that he can have some big games. He's been disappointing this season, no question, but what did he play, 38 minutes last time out, I think?
Yeah, 37 and a half against the Spurs.
Yeah, 37 and a half in regulation, right?
Yeah.
Right, so that, should we expect that to be the exact case again today? I don't know, but if you play even 34 or 35 minutes, you're in business. And I think that's at that price point, it's just too good to pass up. Thoughts on the rest of the Grizz?
Nothing really looks all that appealing from Memphis on FanDuel. I think that on DraftKings, Ja Morant's finally at a playable price point. Not that he's a core guy, but he at least dropped down to where you can consider him in 28 minutes. Valanciunas is a little underpriced. And then Dylan Brooks, I think, is a value option you can go to at probably lower ownership than a lot of the guys around him. But Jackson's the one that just really stands out for me. Anything
else in this one?
I don't think so.
All right. Let's move it on to Philly and Orlando. I noticed this morning, I'm sure you saw the same, the Sixers were only 1-point favorites. I know they're on a back-to-back. I know there's games on the road, but that seemed a little bit fishy. And then shortly thereafter, you got the news that Joel Embiid was going to sit. So right now, which is funny. Now the Magic are 2.5-point favorites. So that's. I still think it's wild that they're 2.5-point favorites, even at home. Sixers on a back-to-back. I think that says a lot about this, though. I think it tells you a lot. I know some people don't care about the lines and the totals, but Magic being 2.5-point favorites at home to me is pretty telling. Let's start with them, and then we'll move over to the Sixers with Embiid being sidelined tonight. By the way, the Philadelphia defense, their defensive rating with Embiid on the court is 91, which is insane. 91 points per 100 possessions, just nuts. 106 with him off. So 15 points per 100 possessions worse with him off. That's shocking.
Yeah, really big difference. And it's surprising because Horford's a quality defender too.
For sure.
And
they're clearly staggering them very heavily, as they should.
Right. So I think that Embiid being out does make it a more favorable spot for Orlando, especially for Vooch. But the problem that I have with Orlando is that there are so many teams, even though it's only a 7-game slate, there are so many teams that have guys missing star players, whether it's Embiid, Anthony Davis, possibly Paul George, Gordon Hayward for Boston. There's just so many teams missing guys that it's really tough to prioritize players from an Orlando team in a game with a low total that is, for all intents and purposes, fully healthy. Vooch gets a decent matchup here. Markelle Fultz, they said, is going to start getting more playing time. I don't know exactly when or what exactly that means, but it's just
or why
really
he should.
What'd you say?
Or why he should.
Yeah, that too. But it's just really, really tough for anything here to really be a priority when you have so many mispriced guys because of players being out.
Yeah, I was waiting for someone to mention it in chat, and here it is. I can rely on you, GQ. He says, Fultz revenge. Look, to be fair, this should be a Sixers revenge game against Fultz.
Dude, there are like 18 revenge games on this slate.
Yeah. Well, all I'm saying is what a colossal bust this guy was.
Yeah.
They should be hyped up in the locker room like, hey, this could have been a franchise changer. And now he's on the other team. Make sure he doesn't have a good game. Of course, I'm not serious about that, but how much are you bumping his production because of the matchup with the Sixers?
Well, I mean, normally I would have projected him for about 0.8 of a point per minute. Now I have him at 2 full points per minute. So great play.
2 full fantasy points per minute. Yeah.
Every shot's going in. He just wasn't trying hard enough in the games before.
All right. So top play.
Yeah, of course.
I could see it coming. I was trying to keep a straight face. Listen, though, I don't disagree with when it comes to Orlando. Both of these teams, by the way, are really solid defensive teams. Orlando is ranked 3rd in defensive efficiency this season. I'm not sure that is sustainable, but I still think they'll be good. I have respect for guys like Aaron Gordon. And do you know Jonathan Isaac leads the league in block shots?
I didn't know he leads the league in block shots, but I thought for a second you were going to leave him out, and I was about to be really surprised.
No, of course not. I think he's what's anchoring this defense. Yeah. But yeah, he leads the league in block shots, and they're 3rd, and they have a 101.1 defensive rating. The Sixers are 6th at 102.1. Now, Embiid being out is certainly going to hurt them, but Simmons, Richardson, Horford, it's still a really good Sixers defense.
Yeah. I think, that it is. And it's the reason why I don't, in addition to the team being healthy, I just don't think that there's a huge bump for guys on Orlando.
So on the other side, I don't know if I'm particularly enthusiastic about anybody, but we would be remiss to not mention Ben Simmons' price tag on DraftKings, which is weighing in at $6,800. I think I DM'd you that this morning when I was just taking a cursory look at salaries. It's like, yeah, that seems a little bit odd, Adam.
Yeah, a little bit. It's, you mentioned that Orlando's been the 3rd most efficient defense. They've also played at the 2nd slowest pace this year. So it's really not surprising that an Embiid-less Philadelphia team only has a 102 total. But the thing to keep in mind is that, it all comes down to salary in DFS. So on FanDuel, where Simmons is 8,400, I think he's a pretty neutral play. But on DraftKings, where he's 6,800 and you can roster him at almost every position except center, it's a really, really good play, and it's hard to get away from. That he should play 35, 36 minutes, assuming that the game's competitive. Last year, when he played alongside Tobias Harris without Embiid or Butler, He had a 25.6% usage rate, 32.1% assist percentage, averaged about 1.18 points per minute. So even if you factor in the matchup and take away a little bit of that per minute production, he's still a really good point per dollar option there. And then Horford is just really mispriced too. He's 5,900 on DraftKings, 7,200 on FanDuel, I think is the best play from Philadelphia on that site as well. 24% usage without Embiid on the floor this year. Granted, some of that has come with the second team or with the second unit, but gets a nice bump. He's averaging like 1.35 fantasy points per minute. Should potentially play, maybe 33, 34 minutes instead of 30 to 32, especially since he sat yesterday. So Simmons and Horford, I think, are the two priorities for me from Philly.
Yeah, I hear you. Richardson's a little bit too pricey. Tell you, man, Tobias Harris broke the franchise records for most threes missed in a game. That's got to count for something, right?
Yeah, he was shooting.
Dude, he shot 0 for 11. His 3-point shooting, though, over the last 4 games, 0 for 11, 0 for 1, 0 for 2, 0 for 1, 1 for 6, 1 for 2, 1 for 3, 1 for 9.
Wow.
Yeah,
and they, of course, after the game, it, of course, came out that as of 4 o'clock, Brett Brown didn't even think Harris was going to be able to play because he was so sick.
I'm tired of this shit, too. We found out that Embiid was apparently sick after the Denver game, but they're saying he was sick during the Utah game that was 3 days before that. I don't know. But yeah, does Tobias Harris have any appeal to you though?
Yes, he's pretty cheap on DraftKings. He'd have more if Ben Simmons weren't basically the same price. Yeah. But on FanDuel, he's $1,100 less expensive than Simmons is, $100 more than Horford. So looking at FanDuel pricing, I would say Horford number 1, Harris number 2.
Dov123 says Laffy is a clown. Thanks, pal. Appreciate that. You want to talk about Houston and the Clippers? I think there's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting game for a couple of reasons.
No question. Now, first of all, when it comes to news, this is really big. We know what happened with the fine for the Clippers last time with Kawhi Leonard. It's funny too, because you can have a guy like Horford sit for rest purposes, but no one really cares about that. You know what I mean? When it's a Kawhi Leonard, it's a big deal. I guess that was an ESPN game too, right? So there's always that. But he's active. Today's the first, not the second leg, the first leg of a back-to-back. And then Paul George is questionable. This is huge because if Paul George remains out and Lou Williams ownership remains at 0.5% on DraftKings, 1% in a game with the slate high 233 total. He's just one of many options that I find to be really interesting. But it's all contingent upon what we get with Paul George.
Yeah. So that obviously is the huge piece of news. If we assume George is out, so my thinking here is that George is going to play one of the games of this back-to-back, and Kawhi is going to play one game of the back-to-back. It would really surprise me if they both play the same game. I think it would make more sense to, have Kawhi play one, have George play the other. So I'm assuming that Kawhi plays today and George plays tomorrow, but obviously we'll have to wait on that news. But if you assume that George is out, you're still getting the Kawhi that has a 36.5% usage rate, a 30+% assist percentage this year, playing 34, 35 minutes in competitive games now against the fastest team in the league. And the reason that I think it's really, really interesting on top of all of that is because LeBron is such a good play on the slate without Anthony Davis. Right now we have Kawhi projected for 7.5% ownership on DraftKings, and it's just naturally going to drive his ownership down because everyone's going to go to LeBron. And in a cash format, I think that's correct, and I think in tournaments and a lot of lineups it's correct. But you're really just getting a lot of lower ownership in this game than you really should because of LeBron and then some other just really clear values.
Yeah, absolutely. In the syllabus that we do, it's a premium piece. Gives you a nice quick look at some of our top plays, top fades, top contrarian options. And the one thing I had Kawhi Leonard in there as my top contrarian play, and then I bailed out for somebody else just because I didn't want to put somebody in there and have it be, well, Paul George plays and now it's useless,
Right.
But if he does sit, man, how many times have you and I said it this year? Our opinions on Kawhi Leonard from what they've been in the past have complete 180 in terms of our position. But that's not because we've identified something that we have been missing all this time. It's because he's a totally different player from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think if we get news that Paul George is in, you can pretty much just ignore all of Kawhi and Williams and Harrell and everyone else, because their prices are just not in line with what their production level is going to be once Paul George is there. But if George is out, you're just getting a really really favorable spot where none of these guys are like optimal plays. Like when I built my cash lineup for DraftKings before the show, none of these guys even came close to getting into it. And the takeaway there for me is just that because everyone builds with optimizers and stuff, this game as a whole is just going to be lower owned than it should. So in tournaments, I'm absolutely just making a bunch of game stacks of this game.
For sure. Let me ask you this, because I was thinking about some possible scenarios today. What are you thinking? What do you think? Do you think it's possible that Kawhi and George both play, but Doc Rivers just limits them, and Kawhi, instead of playing one and not the other of the back-to-back, plays like fewer minutes in both of them?
It's possible. I don't think that's the most likely outcome, but yeah, it's certainly possible.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I really, if George is out though, I really think Lou Williams. Of course, we talked about Kawhi, but I still think even if George is out, Lou Williams' ownership stays really low at him. And I know that he's a bench player and such, but he's the best bench player in the league, and he's got a highest ceiling as anyone else at his price point. So he stands out to me as a potential really good play if PG sits. What about Harrell and the rest of this team?
So with Williams too, I think it's worth pointing out that he's less expensive on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings.
Yeah, Dwayne
Um,
Bacon ruled out, by the way. Go
yeah.
ahead.
And so yeah, so I think even better play there. Harrell's priced up on DraftKings, but again, and on FanDuel, but he's one of the only players on DraftKings that's priced up. But again, that's just another reason why ownership's going to be low. And it's only a 7-game slate. This game could pretty easily just be far and away the most high scoring game on the slate. So I think that just getting to these low owned guys, but getting them all into the same lineup so you have as much correlation as possible is the way to go, because otherwise you're just kind of making a pretty suboptimal play on Harrell at his salary without getting like all of the upside that comes with it.
What about Houston? Last time out, James Harden. It's funny. He had like a pretty awful game through the first, 2.5 quarters, still finished with 62 fantasy points. I mean, that's just what he does. He's very expensive though. And of course we'll get to LeBron James shortly. Westbrook got off to a great start and finished with 43 fantasy points. We've seen it to start the season, the first like 4 games or so, where Westbrook was dominating fantasy production, but that was it outside of, more rebounds. This is clearly shifted as we expected to. It's a pretty natural shift in production. What about James Harden on a day where, do we have an ownership update yet, Adam? Do you know if we've gotten?
The last one I see was an hour ago.
Okay, so we should, so we should be good, because before, with all the news we got, everything was gone. Like, or everything was completely wasn't helpful at all. So like LeBron is up there at 10-7 on DraftKings. James Harden right now, because of the Anthony Davis news, is at 12% right now compared to LeBron's. So he's half the ownership projected right now of LeBron. He's also quite a bit more expensive, $1,000 more on DraftKings. On FanDuel, you've got LeBron at 11.8, Harden at 12.2, so not a huge difference. And then on Yahoo, LeBron at 57 and James at 50. What are your thoughts on Harden and what we just said? Probably the highest scoring game of the night.
Pretty similar to my thoughts on Kawhi. Obviously he's more expensive than Kawhi, but it's going to be really, really tough to get him into lineups when you're paying more for Harden than you are for LeBron without Davis. And so I think in cash games, LeBron is clearly the priority. And in tournament lineups where you're not, game stacking this game and you're contrarian somewhere else, LeBron is still the priority. But Harden's projected for like 12 or 13% ownership right now on DraftKings. And again, like you can there's enough value on this slate where if you were in a tournament lineup to forego James, to forego LeBron James, you could get James Harden and Kawhi in the same lineup. You could get in some other guys from this game as well, and just have a really, really high upside lineup that naturally is going to be lower owned. So I like him a lot more in game stacks than I do as an individual play.
Right. That makes sense. Big news in Boston. We'll get to that in just a moment. But close out this Houston and LA game with your thoughts on the rest of the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned Westbrook's peripherals being down, and I think that obviously goes hand in hand with Capella now being 5th in the NBA in rebound chances per game. He's averaged at least 3.5 fewer minutes per game than every player ahead of him as well. But we've now seen 3 straight games with at least 36 minutes from Capella. He's, I think, fairly priced at $9K on FanDuel, but pretty clearly underpriced at $7,400 on DraftKings. Shoulder issue seems to be behind them, playing big minutes, getting tons of rebound chances. So I like going back to Capella here again. Ben McLemore is like today's version of Corey Joseph. He'll be lower owned than Joseph was, but he's that guy who should get 30 plus minutes, but is going to be standing around doing a whole lot of nothing. He's going to be playing, a lot of minutes alongside Harden and Westbrook, and we know at least one of those two is going to be on the floor all the time. So in a game with the highest total on the slate and at a minimum price tag, McLemore does have appeal. You just need him to, shoot well from three basically, but it can go south really, really quickly. It's not like he's one of these values where it's difficult to see how he fails.
Really, the only appeal here is he's basically minimum salary, and this game has a 233 total.
Exactly.
Like that's it. If you try and convince me on anything else, I'm probably not going to listen.
Correct.
Boston and Washington. All right, let's get to this. Another interesting game. Boston 118.8 total. I believe it's the highest on the entire slate. Yeah, it's tied with Houston. 229.5 over under. Washington 8-point dogs here at TD Garden. So we just got news, Adam. Daniel Tice out and Robert Williams out. So I guess the question now is Enes Kanter, who last game before he played, they said I believe Brad Stevens said there wasn't a limit restriction, right? Didn't he say that?
I am not sure. I just know he played 6 minutes.
But yeah, he played 6 minutes and he didn't get in the game until there was like 30 seconds left in the first quarter. And then he didn't play the second half. So I remember I'm almost certain I saw something saying that there wasn't going to be a limit, but maybe I read that there was. I honestly can't remember now. Nevertheless, the two guys that were predominant players in the center rotation are out. So you've got Enes Kanter and Taco Fall. Like what else?
Grant Williams, Vincent Poirier.
Sorry?
Grant Williams and then Vincent Poirier.
Yeah. You think they'll get center minutes?
Grant Williams. Yeah. I mean, I think Grant Williams does for sure. He's been kind of when Kanter was out, he was the third guy there. So I think it's Kanter and Williams for sure, and then Poirier possibly.
Okay. So it's unfortunate, but does this feel like a stay away because we don't know what we're going to get? I think if we get news on Kanter, he could become if we knew. Oh, by the way, Daniel House listed as out.
Yeah. So the Celtics reporter for The Athletic tweeted, I just lost it, but basically that we should see a lot of minutes for Kanter and Grant Williams at center. So
okay, well then I love Kanter. Simple as that.
Same here. Yeah, and at his price tag in this matchup, it's not like you need tons of minutes for it to work. It's more of like if he plays 18 minutes, he probably ends up being a good play. If he plays 26, you probably really need him.
Oh yeah, so, I mean, let's not forget Enes Kanter is one of the better scoring and rebounding big men in the league when healthy.
Right.
By the way, I'm pretty certain that the only reason he got into that game at that point was because Daniel Tice left with an injury. Oh no, I'm sorry. You know what? Daniel Tice was subbed out for Robert Williams, came in a few minutes into that game. I guess it's unimportant, but I'm definitely going to try and see if we get any news here on Kanter's minutes, because that would suck to play him and he gets 12 minutes. But I don't know. He was out for 7 games, not 7 months.
Right. Yeah. I'm not overly concerned. I think It's probably more of a question of like, does he play 18 minutes or 26 minutes, which is still a big deal, than it is like, does he play 12 or 26?
How do you feel about Grant Williams in terms of playing time? We actually have seen him get some minutes at the 5 this season. Not a ton, but earlier I remember him getting some. I don't know if he has been recently, but he's not a very big guy. He's 6'6". So we've seen, of course, the small ball era of basketball come ushered in over the past couple of years, but definitely an undersized center. What do you think of him? And do you think that affects Thomas Bryant? Of course, the big thing is who's going to start. Is Grant Williams coming off the bench? Is he going to be matched up against Washington's bench? All of that's yet to be seen.
Okay, so I have a couple of quotes from before and after the last game. Brad Stevens said the Celtics will bring back Enes Kanter slowly. He doesn't believe Kanter is moving like he did during the preseason yet, and Tice and Williams have played well. So the second part of that is clearly out because they're not playing. After the game, Kanter said he didn't feel like he was in game shape after 7 games, but the knee felt pretty good. So again, I really don't know what to make of that.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that. So I already
had.
Oh,
and by the way, I'm sorry. There was a tweet. Enes Kanter won't have a minutes limit on Monday. That was from Monday, but apparently that didn't mean a damn thing.
Right, but again, it's just totally different because they had Tyson Williams.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I mean, right. I guess if you're not moving like you were, I don't really know what to think here, quite frankly. I'm willing to run the risk of getting like 24 minutes from Kanter and having it be worth it at 4,600.
Yeah, and I think even like 20 minutes would be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that definitely just throws a wrench in everything because Robert Williams is one of my favorite values on the slate. But Grant Williams, I already had at 22 minutes. I think that those minutes are even more secure now. Potentially could play a little bit more, probably could get up to like 26 minutes. Should be more productive minutes too, just playing more time at the 5. They shouldn't have much of an issue going small against Washington either.
Okay. Yeah. And by the way, since the start of the 2016 season, so 16, 17, 18, not including this year, of course, Enes Kanter's a 1.18 fantasy point per minute guy. And that's not including the triple or the double bonuses factored in on DraftKings. So yeah, like you said, if you're getting those type of minutes at that price tag, it's worth it. I'll roll the dice. What about the rest of Boston? I messaged you today. I said, did Jason Tatum really shoot 1 for 18 the other day? I didn't miss that until today. 1 for 18, man, 5% from the field, but he did get up 18 shots in 35 minutes. Meanwhile, Jaylen Brown, 38 minutes, 16 field goal attempts for him, 11 rebounds on the day. Gordon Hayward's absence obviously looms large, and you're going to see a lot of shot opportunities and a decent amount of minutes sucked up by a lot of these feature names for the Celtics.
Yeah, I think that. So Tatum without Hayward on the floor this year has about a 31% usage rate. In that
actually less fantasy points per minute with him off, but I don't really put a ton of stock in that.
Yeah. In the last game, he had a 26.9% usage rate. He should play big minutes. I think that all of the starters for Boston, with the exception of whoever starts at center, probably play at least 34 to 36 minutes, if not more. So it makes them really appealing. I expect Kemba and Tatum to have the highest usage. Brown to be next, and then Smart to, just do what Smart does and run around and probably not really get stats, but then maybe knock down some threes and get some steals. He's also cheaper than the rest of the group. But I would rank them Tatum, Walker, Brown, Smart as far as the 4 starters that aren't in the front court.
Say it one more time. Tatum, Brown, Smart, Walker.
Tatum, Walker, Brown, Smart.
Tatum, Walker, Brown, Smart. Okay. And just so everyone's clear, if you literally just tuned in, that's not including Enes Kanter. He's talking about the guys he expects to get those big minutes. On the Washington side, I actually had done some research into Thomas Bryant today because I thought he was interesting at his price point. It does make him a little bit more interesting today if, say, Enes Kanter starts. If there's one thing we know about Kanter, he's a good rebounder, a good scorer, and an awful defender. I think it certainly would make this a better matchup for Thomas Bryant. And then if he's getting some run against the 6'6" Grant Williams, it doesn't hurt either. Much better matchup than it would have been earlier today.
Yeah, good matchup for him. The thing that scares me the most is that I think Washington's front court rotation is going to be really tough to predict on a game-to-game basis because behind Bryant, you have Mo Wagner, who is a competent producer. He's a good backup. He gets in foul trouble a lot, which helps Bryant, but you run the risk of getting 26, 28 minutes from Bryant in games where Wagner's playing well off the bench. But that being said, you still, I think more often than not, are going to get 32 to 34 minutes from Bryant. The matchup is better now, as you said. He's going to probably get a little bit more or a little bit less usage now that Isaiah Thomas is playing more minutes, but he should still be the third scoring option on this team behind Beal and Bryant.
You think that is you think that Mo Wagner being off the bench, do you think that is something that could actually eat into his minutes? Because I mean, you could absolutely be right. I just, looking at this, it feels like outside of that blowout where they were down by 34 to the Timberwolves, and then that one game following that against Detroit, he's played 30 plus minutes in every game.
Yeah, Wagner's been in foul trouble a lot, like a lot off the bench. But yeah, I mean, 26 and 20 in the two games you mentioned. I think that it's not like he is going to just play low minutes, but I think that he'll kind of bounce around between, 30 to 34, which makes a big difference in his salary.
Yeah, no question. How many fouls do you think Wagner's averaging per 36 this year?
I saw the tweet the other day. I don't remember what it was. It was like 5.8?
7.9.
7.9.
That's amazing. That's incredible, especially when you consider somebody like Wendell Carter Jr., who is also prone to fouls, is at 5.2. So yeah, 7.9 is ridiculous. Do you like anything else from Washington? It's still a good Boston defense.
So Wagner has at least 4 fouls in like 7 out of 9 games, despite averaging 17 and a half minutes per game.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. So I think that while Bryant's minutes are reasonably secure, I think Rui's are even less secure because he's competing with Davis Bertans. Now you have Troy Brown that could potentially pick up more minutes and mess up the rotation as well. In games where Rui plays well, I think you'll still see the 30 plus minutes, but and Scott Brooks basically said as much, that there's not like a hard minutes spot where they expect Rui to be playing like night in and night out. So he's even riskier than Bryant, I think. Isaiah Thomas, obviously there's been a lot of talk about him today because he's facing Boston. He might shoot more than normal. I'm not sure that Bradley Beal will be real thrilled with that, and Beal probably has a lot to say about it. But he's cheap if you wanted to take a tournament shot, but I don't think he's any sort of a core play. Beal's my favorite guy from the Wizards, just because you're getting 38 minutes from him. Since Isaiah Thomas joined the starting lineup, he has a 30.2% usage rate. Beal does, with a 27.8% assist percentage. So nobody from Washington that I think is like a great play, but Beal's my top guy from the Wizards.
All right. Sean asked on YouTube, did they go over Philly already? I was a little late. Yeah, Sean, I actually just put it in YouTube chat. Simmons specifically on DK and Horford were the guys we like most. And then, if you want to roll the dice on Tobias Harris not being absolutely awful from deep, then maybe he can make some sense as well with Embiid off the floor. San Antonio, Minnesota. We've got 3 games to go, 19 minutes, making good time. We've got the San Antonio Spurs here with a 112.8 total, 114.3 for the Minnesota Timberwolves, 227 total. So 1.5 point spread. Timberwolves are favored here. 227 total. So actually the highest over under on this slate, Adam. And you're talking about a Spurs team that last year and this year as well ranks towards the middle of the league in defensive rating. They're actually 19th this season, but right around there with a lot of the other guys in the middle of the road. And then in pace, 102.9 possessions per 48 for the Spurs. That's right in the middle of the league. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves playing at the 4th fastest pace, 107 possessions per 48. So you got a 5 possession per 48 boost here for the or just 5 more possessions per game for the Timberwolves than you would see for the Spurs, which is why you're seeing a pretty high total. And of course, the Timberwolves defensively have actually been decent this year, right in the middle of the league. But I was a little surprised to see a 227 spot on this game.
Yeah, I think that this is another game. It's not quite as appealing as the Houston game that has an even higher total, but it's another game where I think you're getting lower ownership on these players than you normally would on a 7-game slate in a with a game of this total, especially at their price points. We've seen Lamarcus Aldridge on DraftKings be 35% owned at 6,200 to 7K price tags. Now he's 6,600, and we have him projected for less than 10% ownership. I've been pretty heavily on the side of fading Aldridge when he's really popular because he's not getting the peripherals. But if no one else wants to play him at the salary, he's still fully capable of going for 45 plus fantasy points. So I think it's interesting. Same goes for DeJounte Murray, who played 19 minutes last game, appeared to just not really play well, but more often than not, you're getting 24 minutes. He's averaging like over 1.3 points per minute. So neither guy is is as high probability as other players on the slate. But if no one else wants to roster these guys against a really fast-paced Minnesota team at pretty appealing price points, I like the idea of being overweight in tournaments.
Okay. And who would you of course you're talking about this team, but who do you think being overweight on specifically is the best here?
If Aldridge is actually 5%, I think that's the most appealing. Right now we have DeRozan and Murray at like 10%, which I think is probably around where they should be.
Appreciate you, Ben McBrizzle. He asks Simmons or Devontae Graham in the DraftKings point guard spot. I'm going Simmons here. I know he's getting the minutes in the starting lineup. I really feel good about Devontae Graham going forward, but I think I still have to go Simmons here.
Yeah, I mean, Simmons is my higher projected guy. There's probably a pretty nice ownership gap. Yeah, I mean, it's like 2.5 to 1. So if the answer is Simmons, but if you needed, like, if the rest of your lineup is chalk, then that's a pivot you can make.
I'm Foolish asks, will Cantor get any usage? If he's on the court, he's going to get opportunities. Yeah.
I mean, he has a 13% usage rate, but again, it's through a game and 6 minutes. So last year, for example, if you look at his minutes with Damian Lillard on the floor when he was on Portland, he played 346 minutes with Lillard. He had a 22.4% usage rate, only a 6.5% assist percentage, but the rebounds were there. The usage was there. I don't really see any reason why that changes on this Boston team.
And keep in mind that usage rate this season, the of the 31 minutes he's played, 25 came against Embiid and Horford against that Sixers front court. So
yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah, not exactly a spot where you want to funnel the ball through your center, break down the rest of the Spurs for me, and then I'll pop it off with the Timberwolves here.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot else to say about the Spurs. Derek White's priced up a little bit more than I would like. Rudy Gay's price tag came up after he finally had a good game. So it's pretty much just the main three that I have some tournament interest in DeRozan, Aldridge, and Murray. But again, it's not guys that I would be getting to in cash games.
Okay. The Minnesota Timberwolves. I had mentioned the other day, Wiggins is a changed man. Now, I love what I'm seeing from him with Teague off the floor. And of course, why can't I remember Shabazz Napier. Jeez, that was bad. Doubtful to play, by the way. I love what I'm seeing from Wiggins, but Teague was out with an illness. I would assume he's going to play. So if that's the case, Teague is very, very, very cheap on DraftKings, $4,600. Compare that to $6,500 on FanDuel, $20 on Yahoo. Like $4,600 is really inexpensive. And if he sits along with Napier, I honestly will go back. I don't mind going back to Wiggins, even on a slate where I really like a lot of these guys. I still think everything I've seen from Wiggins over the past 3 games with Teague out makes him a play that I could justify at 7,900. But I also think Teague plays, at least you would expect it to be the case. How are you seeing this game? We'll get to Karl Anthony Towns last.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the deal is with Teague. Like, I know it's a sickness, but I don't know.
It's weird, right?
Yeah, I don't know what the problem is. If he plays, I agree. At 4,600, it's a pretty easy play because you have to assume if he's in, and you're getting like 30, 32 minutes from him. So yeah, if we get word that Teague is in, I think it's a good play. If we get it after lock, then on DraftKings, obviously do some late swapping and get to him. If he's out, then Wiggins gets a bump, and I'm not really interested in Wiggins if Teague is in because his salary has come up to reflect Teague being out. But in the games that Minnesota has played without Teague, Wiggins actually has the highest usage rate at 29%. He has a 27% assist percentage. So he's not my favorite play, but I still think that there's some upside at his salary given his role without Teague.
Yeah, it's definitely justifiable. And it's funny too, because you look at these last 3 games, Wiggins is averaging 14 drives per game. The next closest guy on this team is 3.7, Jarrett Culver. 14 drives per game over these 3 games that we saw Teague out for. So I was just thinking to myself, like, what was Teague doing in terms of drives last year? And you were getting not 14. Teague was at 14. Wiggins was at 7.9. So I could go over a lot of numbers here, Adam, and I think you'd agree that suggest that I'm not ready to call him point Wiggins yet, but I definitely think that we're seeing kind of an evolution of his game where he's a little bit more willing to be that ball handler. 7.3 potential assists per game over that span. Look, not great, but way more than you would ever normally see from Wiggins. And you pointed out the usage too. So I think there's more than him just being an empty score with nothing else in the box score. And that makes him appealing if Teague is out. What are you doing with Karl Anthony Towns here? A pretty odd price point on DraftKings at 9,300.
Yeah, he's not that appealing on FanDuel at 10.8 or 10.9, but 9,300 on DraftKings. Not a lot of great center options tonight. I don't think it's a position you have to pay up at, but I think that he's pretty clearly underpriced. Barring foul trouble, you should get 35, 36 minutes. In the games without Teague, he has a 26.8% usage rate, 21.5% assist percentage, 16.3% rebounding percentage. He's obviously shown monster upside for years. So I think that he's just another really, really underpriced guy on DraftKings.
All right. What else do you have from this game?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay. We had a question in chat. Kyle Kuzma or RHJ?
Kuzma.
I don't even think it's particularly close.
Neither do I.
Yeah. I did answer that for you in chat too, Sean. But yeah, I don't think that's very close at all. We'll get to that as our last game. But first, Portland and Toronto. We had Dame Lillard and the Blazers playing their second of a back-to-back today. They just lost to the Kings without De'Aaron Fox. That's an encouraging. That you should be excited as a Blazers fan. I thought they'd be better, but Yusuf Nurkic being out with that injury is obviously brutal. He's a better player than Hassan Whiteside, and I think all in all, this game probably stays pretty competitive. It's in Portland. Actually, the Blazers are favored by 2.5 points. 218 total. Let's talk about the Blazers first. I think it's kind of hard to get to Lillard, but as a contrarian option, I get it. Just like Trae Young yesterday was in tournament winning lineups at very low ownership in a tough matchup on paper. I could always see Lillard doing something similar without the same amount of assists. And then you've got Whiteside, who I think is still projected to get some ownership, and Rodney Hood not expected to play in this one.
Hood's probable.
Well, I'm sorry.
Hood is probable.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I saw him as doubtful earlier.
He went from probable to doubtful last night. Okay,
my fault. I missed that one. Then I don't know why I thought that he was doubtful to play, but that's fine. That's why you're here to correct me when I screw up.
I'm double checking it, but I'm pretty sure I saw that earlier. Whiteside probable, Hood probable.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I must have just seen something that I read wrong, because today it was today that I saw this. Anyway, what are you doing with Portland?
Not a ton. I'm with you as far as the Lillard tournament, appeal, just because he's going to go out there and shoot a lot. I think overall this could be a pretty sloppy game. You have Portland on a back-to-back. You have Toronto on a 3-4, where their guys have been playing huge minutes. So I think there is, at least some concern there. But from the Portland side, I think that it's Lillard and Whiteside are the two most appealing, just because of the upside that they bring. Whiteside at a pretty weak center position at a decent price tag. Lillard just as, a scorer. It is worth pointing out that Lillard's been incredibly efficient this year. Last year, he had about a 52.5% effective field goal percentage. This year, he's up a little bit over 58%. So that probably comes back down a bit. So nothing from the Portland side that I have a ton of interest in.
This is an interesting conversation. Now in chat, Kuzma is too scoring dependent to like him over Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. Look, I would just caution you. You do whatever you want, of course. Caution you to keep in mind that Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, on a per minute basis over this guy's career, and this is with Brooklyn, where they never really had any serious high usage guy. Of course, D'Angelo Russell, but there were times where Hollis-Jefferson got all the opportunity in the world and is still one of the most spotty players in the league. So yeah, Kuzma might be scoring dependent, but there are times where Hollis-Jefferson's just going to disappear entirely. So yeah, I guess we'll get to that in a minute. What are you doing with the Toronto side? OG Anunoby, did you see that inadvertent eye poke yesterday?
I didn't see the play.
Yeah, I mean, he got in there good, but he's sidelined, right eye contusion. It's right under the basket almost. So you're gonna get Norman Powell, obviously already seeing minutes with the injuries to Kyle Lowry, and then Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, and then Chris Boucher. The Boucher thing is interesting to me. Why don't you break down what you have for minutes here? Boucher played 22 minutes last time out. Hollis-Jefferson got 28. Anunoby only played a couple minutes in that game before exiting.
Yeah, I think that so the minutes projection was kind of tough because you couldn't just straight use yesterday unless you're actually projecting 44 minutes for Siakam and 45 for Van Vliet, but I think you can use it as a pretty good gauge. You got 22 minutes for Boucher. He dealt with a little bit of foul trouble. I have him at 24 minutes here. They did play a little bit of Boucher plus Hollis-Jefferson plus Gasol, Boucher plus Siakam plus Gasol. So I went ahead and gave him a couple minutes there in addition to the backup minutes to Gasol and Siakam. I have Hollis-Jefferson at 30 minutes. He played like 28.8 after subbing in 2 minutes into the game for Anunoby. So both of those guys I have, getting pretty nice roles here. Boucher, the better per minute option, but getting fewer minutes. I think that on DraftKings, they're both reasonable values. I think that Hollis-Jefferson is a better value on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings, where he's even cheaper on FanDuel. Boucher is borderline unplayable on FanDuel at 6,500 at center, at power forward.
That's a crazy price.
Yeah. I thought DraftKings got him up to 4,300, which is like a good price where he can pay it off, but it's not like a lock that he does. 6,500 is, I don't know how you get there. But in addition to Hollis-Jefferson being more favorably priced on FanDuel, I think Norman Powell also at 4,800 on FanDuel is priced better than he is on DraftKings. So I would give him preference there. He should play around 36 minutes, assuming nothing weird happens. And then you get to Van Vliet and Siakam, who I projected both guys for 40 minutes. Normally, I don't go that high, but we've seen 39 and 45 minutes from Van Vliet. We've seen 42 and 44 from Siakam. The only real concern I have is that it's a 3 and 4, but there's only so many options that this team has. And we've seen Nick Nurse be very willing to run really tight rotations all season long. So assuming a competitive game and no injuries or anything, I think that they still get monster minutes, and it makes them both, pretty quality values.
So your top options from Toronto?
On FanDuel, it's Hollis-Jefferson, Powell, Van Vliet, Siakam, and then everyone else. On DraftKings, it is Siakam, Van Vliet, and then pretty comparable on Hollis-Jefferson, Boucher, and Powell.
Okay, a couple things to point out here. Number one, a tweet from Mark D'Amico. I asked Brad Stevens about how he weighs his center options tonight among Cantor, Poirier, and Greg Williams. He responded succinctly, matchups. He's not trying to play games there tonight to get through 2 center injuries. Only surprise option he mentioned, Semi Ojeleye. So do with that as you please. Also news here that he will not. He said, sorry, did I say Greg? I meant Grant Williams. Yep. He said that Cantor will not get close to playing 30 minutes. So that could mean 10 or that could mean 20. I don't know, man. But if you're throwing Ojeleye into the mix, now I'm worried that Cantor plays 10 minutes.
It's definitely concerning. I mean, Ojeleye could just play over Poirier. We've seen that happen already.
Yeah, it could. Anyway, want to talk about this final game before we turn it over to the Live Before Lock crew?
Yep.
All right. Kyle Kuzma, going to be popular, rightfully so. Dude's no longer restricted. Played 25 minutes last time. I'd be surprised you got to put him at 30, right?
Yeah, I'm at 30.
Okay, me too. You got him at 30, super cheap, scoring dependent or not. This is keep this in mind. This is, I think, the big thing to consider here. With when you look at the usage, and I've mentioned this a couple times, but it's important because there's only a couple teams in the league where you actually see something so top heavy like this among their starting lineup and their bench. But when you look at usage for the Lakers, you have Anthony Davis and LeBron James. That's it, right? Anthony Davis at 29.7, 29.4 for LeBron. Then Kyle Kuzma returns, and because there was no one else with a usage rate above 16%. Kuzma returns, he's got a 25% usage rate. You're talking other players like JaVale McGee and Troy Daniels and Quinn Cook and Rondo and Bradley and KCP and Danny Green, Dwight Howard. I mean, there's no doubt that Kuzma could have a 30% usage rate tonight and no one would blink twice.
Yeah.
Think twice. And no one would blink. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And also with Davis being out, you can pretty easily use last year's Lakers team to try and get an idea of how the rates and the production are going to look. You got 134 minutes last year of Kyle Kuzma playing alongside LeBron James without Ingram, Ball, or Rondo on the floor. That more or less gives you what this team is. Obviously there's different names, but it's similar players. And Kuzma had a 24.1% usage rate, 10% rebounding percentage, 11.8% assist percentage, averaged 1.15 DraftKings points per minute. There's some chance that they stagger him and LeBron as well, which would give him even more usage. And it's the worst defense in the league. So they said the other day he's not on a minutes restriction. Now you don't have Anthony Davis playing in front of him. The other guys that you have to soak up minutes are guys like KCP and Troy Daniels and Alex Caruso and Jared Dudley. Like, it's not like there are competent guys behind them. I don't really have a way to get away from Kuzma.
What about, well, first of all, we don't have a lot of time. LeBron James top play, correct?
Yeah, no question.
Okay, we don't need to get into that. What about Dwight Howard?
Yeah, I think him and McGee both. I don't think they have to play 48 minutes, but
Paul George ruled out.
Good. So I don't think they have to combine for 48, but I think they'll come close. We'd seen them not playing as many because Davis was playing at the 5, but obviously that won't be the case now. So I think I have it at 22 minutes for McGee, 26 for Howard. Both of their salaries have come down. Howard a little bit more expensive than McGee, as he should be, but I think that they're both, pretty solid values. They come with a lot of risk, but they also have upside.
Okay. Hey, before we head out, Deeper Dive, all one word, is how you get 50% off your first month of Awesemo Plus membership. Go to awesemo.com/join, click begin membership, and we cater the subscription to you, what type of player you are, how much you want to spend, and what type of content you're looking for. So you're not getting too much, you're not getting too little. That was Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, his vision when starting awesemo.com. So use the sign-up code Deeper Dive. Upon doing so, make sure it's all one word in there. Outside of that, Golden State Warriors, close it out, Adam.
D'Angelo Russell, 8,100 on DraftKings, another one of my favorite plays on the slate. 36.3% usage rate without Curry on the floor this season. Overall, he has a 34.5% assist percentage. The Lakers should play a little bit faster without Davis. They should be a little bit worse defensively as well. So I really like the spot for him. Draymond on DraftKings in particular at 5,600, I think is underpriced. And then Willie Cauley-Stein subbed out 2 minutes early due to a blowout last game, but he was on track to play 28 minutes. So just another guy that I think you can rotate through the center position in addition to Howard and McGee.
All right. And head over to @Awesemo_com. Check out the giveaway that we've got going on today. I promise you don't have to rush to the site after the show is over. We'll take a hiatus on that. Follow us too. Ship My Money DFS @Laffy_D. We'd love to see you over there on Twitter, and we can, yell at each other and fun stuff like that. Any final thoughts, Adam?
Nope.
All right. Stick around. You know what it is. Live Before Lock coming up next. We'll see you back here tomorrow on the Deeper Dive presented by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports.
Before Lock screen up. What's up, everybody? Here we are, live before Lock, Wednesday, November 13th. This is the good crew. Myself, Fast Eddie Fear, here to break down everything.
This is the good crew.
It is the
Just
good
throwing
crew.
some shade
It
right
is the
from
good
the
crew.
beginning. The rest of y'all are...
It is the good crew. Sorry,
Don't
Chris's.
disagree.
Sorry, Chris's. This is the main event.
Jesus. Calling them out by name.
This is the main event.
Right.
The main event. Wednesdays.
I feel like I'm working at Barstool. That kind of disrespect for the staff.
Wednesdays are the days, man. Wednesdays are the days. Wednesdays are the days where everyone tolerates me because I bring them you.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
So we've got a lot to talk about. We just got some
Yes.
news. Paul George out.
Yes.
Kawhi Leonard in. We've got Enes Kanter drama to get into. But before we do anything, got to give the shout out to Fantasy Draft, the presenting sponsor of this Live Before Lock show. They are the only rake-free DFS place in the industry. $250,000 Hooters main event coming up for Week 11 in the NFL. 100% of the fees that they take in go right back out to you for the contest. Sign up at fantasydraft.com. Use the promo code AWESEMO. Get a 7-day free trial. You probably saw it in the commercial break as well. We're doing a bit of a giveaway. I'm going to pull that up on the screen right now. For those of you that missed it, go check out the awesemo_com Twitter account. We have a pinned tweet. If you guess the player that has the most fantasy points on tonight's slate, 7Gamer, just retweet, like, reply with that guy. Follow awesemo_com and Awesemo NBA, and you could win an Awesemo Plus NBA Season Pass. $399 value. All right, Eddie, let's do this.
Cheap at twice the price.
How you feeling about this slate?
I like it. It's exciting.
It's grown on me.
It's not as good as slates where 65% of really bad basketball players are played. I didn't tell you this before. In the history of me doing rankings, which is every day for 3 years, Corey Joseph was the first player ever that I gave an A in cash and a C in GPPs. Ever. He was the first man to ever get there.
Kojo, what up?
I found that notable.
When I saw his minutes when I woke up in the morning, I was like, "Ooh, wow!"
When I saw it, right? So I went to sleep. I got like 3 hours sleep the night before last, and so I just passed out before that game started, and woke up not long after it ended. And I load his box score because clearly I took a massive stand. I said I would play 0 when I saw the ownership, and it's just totally an ownership play. If he was 20% owned, I would have been like, oh, I'll have more than that. When I saw 60 whatever percent projected, I was like, oh, I would just play 0 because there's a real chance of it's Corey Joseph. There's a very good chance of getting a number in the teens. I would just have none and take that against the field and just fade the massive Corey Joseph game. And so then I load the box score where I had a good night, good long talk with my good friend, Chris Randone, and then passed out eventually. And I load the box score and I see 38 minutes. I'm like,
yeah, I mean, if you know that if that's the only thing you know
so badly,
if that's the only thing you know before lock, you're just like, this is very wrong.
Yeah, if you told me it's 38 minutes, like, I don't like the dude, but at 38, I would have projected him in that matchup for somewhere around 29 fantasy points, and 60% whatever would have been justified, and I would have been like, yeah, but I got it incredibly right because I was incredibly wrong about everything else, but it worked out at the end of the day. But just for everyone who's like, oh, you're a genius. No, I took a stand that happened to work, but like I said yesterday, you try to make the right plays, but they work out wrong for you a good 40% of the time. So you really got to look at it over
for sure
time span.
So
rankings version 6 going in about 10 seconds. Upload. Okay, Paul George out. Everyone else boosted on LA. Go ahead.
Yeah, that piece I guess is pretty easy. I think our best spot to start is with today's chalk. How do you feel about Rondae Hollis-Jefferson night tonight?
I like him a lot on FanDuel, where there are, it's worth pointing out from the get-go how if you play both sites, and I think it's generally a good idea, not necessarily for everyone. There are people who are very good at taking advantage of the places DraftKings, there are play styles that DraftKings makes more advantageous, being particularly good with the numbers, not being particularly good with positional scarcity and stuff. And there's the opposite on FanDuel. I preferred FanDuel because FanDuel I thought was actually a little more complicated and gives you these more subtle layered in problems. And I was more of a FanDuel guy. I think most people should consider both sites. But the difference between building on the two sites today is insane. On FanDuel, there are 2 good value plays and 9 guys I like and 25 guys I'm happy to get into lineups. On DraftKings, there are 17 good value plays, and like every day, there's a few guys who are priced so well that I'm like, oh, I feel really bad about not getting him into a lineup. There's like 14 guys who do that today. Every lineup that I look at building is missing 6 guys who I would really like to get in every lineup at their price. So it's a drastically different situation. So and I need to look at ownerships, obviously, to contextualize all this commentary, but on FanDuel, $4,200, yeah, I think he plays somewhere around 30 minutes. That's really good, where there's absolutely no value on that site. One of these days, my daughter will know what a clock is and how to read it. Maybe not. Anyhow, DraftKings is an entirely different kettle of fish. So I need to know what our respective ownerships are on those two sites, and then I could answer a little bit better. On DraftKings, I think he should be owned in the mid to high teens, and I'm fine with that number. That's where about it should be. On FanDuel, he should be owned like 55%. I'm fine with that number. So I don't know what they are, but that's about where they should be, and I would relate to those figures.
60,
so what do we have for
64 on FanDuel.
I'd like a little less. You can get away from it, but points per dollar is one of your best power forwards.
27 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I'd come in under 27 on DraftKings. There's just a whole lot of compelling value. I think there are ways that evaporates a little bit and doesn't like. I do think the most likely scenario is he gets a pile of minutes because he plays on Toronto, and apparently, no matter who is healthy or injured or whatever, all they know how to do is give everyone a bucket of minutes. Toronto's on a nice island game. They're off until Saturday, actually. So, yeah, I think the most likely scenario is he plays a while. But he's the number 3 to 4 option on offense. There's just a couple other places I would rather go, but it's not in any way a bad play. He still prices out just fine. I'm largely ambivalent. You told me it was 63%, we'd have a different conversation. But, yeah, 25 is just fine. I'd probably come in with a little bit less because I like the Lakers centers randomly. I like trying some Enes Kanter. There's just a lot of guys in that price range that I think you'll get at 6% ownership that are a little more interesting.
How do you feel about DraftKings chalk Kyle Kuzma, $4,100?
Yeah, it's interesting having the dichotomy, if you will, with Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, because they both carry some sort of inherent uncertainty. Like, again, I think the likely case for both guys is they play significant minutes. I actually have Kuzma for a couple more. I don't know if that lines up with what you expect. And Kuzma, obviously, even a little bit cheaper on DK, and assuming that comes to pass, he's great. But Kuzma, they were ramping up for minutes and did play significantly yesterday, and they are whooping the hell out of a junior varsity team. So they both carry some uncertainty. Rondae, it's more, they don't really like him. So, if tonight you see Chris Boucher, who can play the 3, the 4, and the 5, play 31 minutes and Rondae play 22, I'm not going to fall out of my chair. Yeah. So there's some sort of uncertainty with both of them. But again, for both of them, the most likely scenario is them savaging the crap out of their prices. When you say chalk for Mr. Kuz, what is the exact numericism of that?
Got a guess?
Going to be a number. I mean, it's a really nice slate, so I don't think of it. I'll say 35. It's going to be a number.
43.
Again, little bit less. It's a nice slate, although again, dogs and cats living together, more games on Tuesday than Monday or Wednesday. But yeah, I'm fine. I don't have a great commentary. I will say, please late swap intelligently and pay attention to news and even one coach's comments of, we played him a lot last night, and we're definitely, especially if the game gets out of hand, going to look. I'd be, just get him the hell out of there. Go with any of the other 17 pieces of value. So do pay attention as the day progresses. But yeah, that price is absolutely preposterous. Like, there's preposterous prices on 3-point guard, $6,800 Ben Simmons, $5,600 Terry Rozier, $4,600 Jeff Teague, hypothetically.
Yeah, I can't.
It's really hard to build a lineup without one of those guys that I have projected to 7x their price at not 0 prices. Like 7x at 3K, not very exciting. 7x at 5, 6, 7K. Now you have my attention.
It's staggering how low these guys are priced today.
Yeah, it's really a remarkable different experience building on the two sites today. FanDuel, you're like FanDuel, there's no point guards I like. None. I like Austin Rivers at the bare minimum because he's a point guard and I don't have to spend a lot of money at point guard, which, I'm pretty happy about not spending a lot of point guard the way things are shaping up today. So yeah, it's a weird day.
It's a doozy. So who is your favorite play of the day today? Who's the guy that you have your eye on most?
Ooh, I don't know if I have a quick, simple answer for that. That isn't just like super chalky guy. Because again, it is so incredibly different on the two sites. Guy that I am super interested in that I think will go under owned. I have pivoted this into a couple conversations.
Do it. We got time.
Let's start with Lamarcus Aldridge, especially on DraftKings. I really like this matchup for him. And he clowns Towns. Wow. Rhymed it up there. Nothing like that.
He gives Towns frowns?
He gives, oh, Jesus Christ. He makes Towns look like he has downs. That's so wrong. So wrong. So incredibly. I got it carried away by the rhyming.
You could have that one, man.
Inappropriate. Yeah. So, yeah. He fouled him out twice last year, if memory serves. I don't know. I did not have time to dive into the game logs, which, again, are about the 11th most relevant piece of research. But he made Towns look stupid all of last year. I don't need the numbers to prove it. He had some very good games. I would guess off the top of my head, he outscored Towns just straight up 3 out of 4 games. Now, this is an incredibly different scenario. This is a year older, a year better Towns, a more in charge Towns. This is a team that's in flux. This is a San Antonio team that is playing much faster with marginally worse defense. So his projection would come up and his price is ridiculously low on DraftKings. FanDuel, I don't have a lot of interest. DraftKings, $9,300 Towns. There's a lot of ways he gets there. I would want Teague in if I'm playing Towns. I think Wiggins ball, which has been exciting for me to watch. It's I'm a big fan of redemption stories. Like I cheer for Michael Vick. I cheer for guys coming. I cheer for Derrick Rose. Guys overcoming some form of adversity, and I cheer for Andrew Wiggins, who's overcoming the adversity of just being crap, I guess. But it's been exciting to watch him sort of put his thing down over the last few days. If that continues, I worry for this game. Like I like a bet on the Spurs outright, even on the road, as weird as that sounds. So
if you really like Aldridge, would you recommend using more crowns on DK?
Yeah, you've just been sitting here for the last 45 seconds as I talked about him going, no.
Yeah, I've gone through as many as I could think of in my head right now.
Downs, counts, that's not a word. Downs, that was inappropriate. Frowns, already used that. It's as if Aldridge makes it look as if he's wearing gowns. Yeah, we could do this for a while.
Yeah. I can't help it.
Yeah. No, it's I love me some good wordplay, as you may have noticed. So anyhow, yeah, I like Aldridge a lot. I think Towns is just fine to get to. I would have some. I imagine he's somewhere around 10% owned. Maybe a little bit more, probably closer to 15. But he's going to have ownership, and $9,300 Towns can massively pay off at home. That in a big way. But there's a very real chance, he just is made to look bad. And again, guys are priced insane. I have Aldridge priced 5 fantasy points less than him. He costs $2,700 less. I have, Towns 7 or 8 points behind D'Angelo Russell, who costs $1,200 less. I have him 17 points behind LeBron James, who costs only $1,400 more. Go with caution. I guess that's enough on that. But Aldridge, if the ownership holds where we have him in the 10% range, I really like him in this spot. I like a lot of the Spurs. Minnesota is playing pretty fast and
speaking of
playing
Minnesota,
very good defense.
Teague available to play.
Woohoo! Yeah, you put a slot in for him. Like it's not a great match. He is of those 3 point guards I mentioned, the one who's sort of least musty to me. I do think Rozier is the best. Yes. I have Rozier projected for 34.5 fantasy points.
He is my number 1 play on DraftKings today relative to salary.
Okay. That makes me. I didn't have time to do almost any algorithm work. I literally ran one expected points thing, which I have not had time to adjust for any number of the breaking news, which would have moved stuff all the hell around. But, Teague coming back from having what I presume was diphtheria or so. I have no idea, but dude was apparently really down for the count there.
Yeah. Did he get whatever Jaylen Brown had?
Simmons on the back-to-back after suffering an injury that turned out to be not, again, I think the most likely scenario with Simmons is that he's just fine. They didn't move him, like he came back 2 games earlier than expected. They didn't move him from like questionable to probable. Hours before the game, they went questionable to in. And now they're playing him on both ends of a back-to-back. So I think the most likely scenario is that he is good to go and just go out and rip shit up, and $6,800, dude, way too cheap. But there's a back of my head lingering of, okay, maybe something's going on here. But Rozier just looks really good. Dude's going to take 15 to 18 shots. The matchup is great. 5,600. You have a chance of getting 45. You're probably going to get 30-something, and that's a pretty nice floor for $5,600. So he would rank in as the one that's hardest to get away from for me. But at this point, I really wouldn't have trouble starting a lineup and being like, okay, Teague, I got to get him in. Russell, Simmons, you can play at the 3. Kuzma, and then a Rozier at guard, LeBron at forward. Now you've got 2 spots. I don't know how much salary that leaves you, but that was easy. Just rotate guys in there because that seems pretty gross for all those guys. Thomas Bryant looks pretty brilliant to me now.
Yeah.
6,500 on DraftKings. I have him projected a touch over 40. That's also very exciting, and there are ceilings beyond that for him, and I can see the game flow going to him with Boston still replete with excellent perimeter defenders and no one down low to do anything about anything. So, I mean, he had 50 against the Thunder earlier this year, which is a much tougher matchup. He had mid-40s against Houston, which is a little better pace. I mean, like, this is still a very good team. There's some risk involved, but I would look at Aldridge and Bryant for a long time, and that would come down to ownership for me. I really like both those guys in the mid-6s, who I'm not surprised to see 50 out of tonight. I think it's a little more likely with Aldridge, but like I have them both projected, in the 40ish range for 6 and a little bit, with a real ceiling beyond that. So I guess I'll take those as my answers to your question of who I'm probably most interested in versus the field. I suspect I would come in pretty massively overweight on Aldridge and Bryant.
Okay. Circling back to, we got a super chat from Anthony Davis. Probably not LA.
Well, he's not busy.
Yeah. You're off.
He's just watching the show. He's like, I wonder what Eddie's saying about me. I hear he has some takes on repressed childhood memories.
So thank you for the super chat. He wants to know thoughts on the Cantor drama, which I think is a very interesting place to go now. What in the world do we do with the front court for the Boston Celtics?
Is there drama beyond just we're not sure what's going to happen? Like Cantor isn't. Are we dealing with the whole Erdogan visiting DC? That whole
no, I don't think that there's anything regarding the government of Turkey right now.
Oh, okay. I was just when you say drama, I'm like, I know the dude is fairly likely to be assassinated by covert Turkish militants at some point, but that hasn't happened yet. By Hito Turkoglu, who I think yeah, like he came out on the side of Erdogan and was like, oh, he should just like Cantor's like, dude. Not cool.
Yeah.
Like he completely Uncle Tom'd the situation. It was good. Like Cantor was like, dude, you've been in America for 20 whatever years. Where do you get off? Well, anyway.
Yeah, let's talk.
We have Rondae Hollis-Jefferson as the number 2 player. Yeah, no, or maybe I haven't refreshed something, but we have him as the second highest owned guy. Yeah, I'd come in well under that number. Okay. He went down to the 3rd. He went down to the 3rd now.
Yes.
He went down to the 3rd. He was 29. Now he's down to 25. It's getting more tolerable. Okay. I hadn't refreshed. Let's talk the Celtics front court. I really like Enes Kanter on FanDuel.
Okay.
I think he plays 22 minutes. I would project him for about 30 fantasy points.
I have Enes Kanter in for 22 minutes.
Right. But I don't know if you feel this way. I feel like I'm completely talking out of my butt with that number. Like nowhere close to 30. I didn't think that was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
But, to me, that is something like you try to put yourself in the headspace of obviously someone much smarter than me with Brad. And I say that sentence if he's going to play 20 or a little over 20. You know what I'm saying? Like, because they didn't ask him, will he play 30 minutes? They say, what are you going to do with your center minutes? And he goes, he's not going to get close to 30. To me, that means low 20s. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a weird thing to say if you're planning on playing him 14 minutes. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, that could happen. But DK, $4,600, I think, is the tag there. Lots of other insanely priced guys in that range. And for only a couple thousand more, you get whatever, Bryan. So, but on FanDuel, $4,300. Yeah, I think he's sitting in the placeholder right now. Let me look. Yeah, he's in there. He's right there next to Rondae. Spending money on those bigs.
Yeah.
But I'm a pretty big fan there. The matchup is very good for him. If he gets 18 minutes, I still think he's fine. And center on FanDuel, I got to check prices on like Capella's at 9 still, right?
Yeah, he's
Harold's at
preposterously priced.
Yeah, so like Bryan at 77, I really like. I'm fine getting there. Marcus All at 5'6", I don't really mind. Dwight Howard, I think, is really good. JaVale McGee, I really like. I'd have to sit there. So JaVale McGee for me, Howard played more minutes last night. I think they probably play all the center minutes between McGee and Howard.
I'd be surprised if they didn't.
Right. So
I don't get the sense that they're going to be trying any LeBron at the 5 today on a random Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if a fairly likely, 8 points seems like too little of a line here for me at home. Again, there's a nominal home in California, but I think they could be favored by a bit more than that, even without Anthony Davis. I mean, if you take the top 10 players from this game, 8 of them are on the Lakers. I mean, it's just a. Anyhow, I like JaVale. 3,700, I think, is the DK price. I have JaVale in for 21 minutes. I have Howard 27 and JaVale 21 right now. Much like Enes Kanter, pulling those numbers completely out of my butt.
Yep.
But I don't think 24 and 24 is impossible. JaVale hasn't been getting much playing time, and they like JaVale. Mm-hmm. And there's a real chance they're just smashing Shed. I think Howard played 20 yesterday and JaVale 11. I think were the numbers on that there. So
that sounds right.
Why push Dwight anywhere? Dwight's just fine to play. Again, I am more likely getting more of the time, but them splitting 24 and 24 wouldn't surprise me. $3,700 JaVale McGee against Willie Cauley-Stein et al. For 24 minutes. It's really exciting for me. I project him for like 34 fantasy points. Like JaVale McGee is a fantasy monster. And the matchup doesn't get a whole lot better. Golden State is repeatedly getting pummeled by centers, and that's going to continue.
I have them in for 23 and 21 minutes right now, just to run my first crunch, because I'm not really sure where to go with either one of them. And I'm getting a bunch of them on FanDuel, even at those limited numbers. So I expect one of them to exceed that sort of threshold.
Yeah.
And pick
so
up
I guess
the
I can
extra
sum
time,
up by saying
I don't need to do anything to get it.
Yeah, I like the pay down at center on FanDuel. I think a lot of people will move away from Enes Kanter because of, not anywhere near 30 minutes. He played 6 minutes in the last game. Yeah. That's going to keep his ownership pretty well. And dude, if you told me he played 22 minutes, I'd say he's got like a 50% chance of having a double-double or something. Like, dude can rebound, and True. That's a really good matchup. So, like all three of those guys as a cheap center, do you want to talk about LeBron or D'Angelo Russell? Like they're sort of self-evident, like these guys should demolish, but
what are we going to say about LeBron James in this spot or D'Angelo Russell on the Warriors right now that people don't already know?
I mean, be aware, this is the first Laker back-to-back of the year.
Yeah.
They had a very cherry schedule to start. First time they're on a back-to-back. It depends how chalky is right now. Without looking, I would hope we have LeBron James at least 30%. If he's less than that, I would want to push towards that because
DK.
I'll go with DK. I imagine it'd be about the same on both sides.
26 FanDuel, 24.8 on DraftKings.
Yeah, give me I haven't had a ton of time to like build lineups, so I'm trying to think when I say, like, I obviously want more because he's the player on the slate most likely to put up 90. I think there's some other guys with just massive upside. So I'm really thinking it through. Like
Harden, I guess.
Right. It's always James Harden, who I bet we have at like 10. A ballpark Harden.
That's a good question.
10% James Harden 12. Is always going to be good. 12, yeah. I mean, like, it's really tough on DraftKings. FanDuel, I'm surprised that number isn't higher.
Why?
FanDuel, like a small forward, like there's only like 5 small forwards I really want to play. Like, let's take a tour over to FanDuel and see where that conversation leaves us. Like, I like LeBron obviously quite a bit. I don't think we need to elaborate on the reasons why too much. I like Kawhi now. Like, I think building a lineup with like LeBron, Kawhi at small forward is very interesting for me. I really like the matchup, and he's not going to play tomorrow, and they'll let Paul George make his debut tomorrow. And so you're getting, like Kawhi is an absolute monster on this team. So, I like Pascal Siakam. I can see myself getting to Tobias Harris at one point. If he tries really hard and gets some glasses, he may hit the broadside of a barn. I think it was 0 for 11 last night in threes. I don't even know. It was
like
not
6 for 40 or something in his
yeah,
last
he's
couple
pulling the
games.
James Harden. He's pulling the James Harden, who was also 6 for 40. And who was the other one? Kobe White was also 6 for 40 from three. I think they all put up that exact 6 for 40 stretch at one point in time.
That's pretty
and
rough.
If you watch, and a spoiler alert, if you watched James Harden and or Kobe White, it stops at some point. So at a certain point, like, you should look at that line and go, 11 3-pointers. I'm excited to be a part of this. Like, on average, he will
100%.
make 5. Like, so the 20 fantasy points from 3-point range. Yeah, that was pretty nice. And then you obviously take Embiid out of there. That moves him down, obviously, to the 4. I assume they will start Korkmaz again, unlike the last couple times when I was surprised because they should have started Thibault. In this matchup, I think that actually makes some more sense. So maybe they'll turn it around and go the other way. But yeah, I like Tobias Harris, and he gets more time at the 4, so more chance of hitting that double-double. Like him more on FanDuel, where he's priced more advantageously, and he's a small forward. But after that, 7,200, that's a little more than I want to pay for Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
Miles Bridges with guys out of 59 feels fine. But anyhow, my point being, I'm surprised the LeBron number. Like, you have LeBron projected as your high-scoring player on the slate, I assume, by some distance.
I don't know if that's true, but let me look.
Oh, I'm excited.
It is not true. I have Harden.
You have Harden? Okay.
Yep.
I have LeBron by 2. And what do you have LeBron and Harden at?
I have Harden at 6. Well, if we're talking DK, I have Harden at 63, LeBron 62, and then it drops to Kawhi. Yeah, Kawhi.
Okay.
Carl Anthony Towns at 58.
Yeah, I have Carl Anthony Towns at 47.
Ooh, okay.
So we're slight difference on that one. But again, I play into crap I've watched on the court, maybe more than I should. I don't know, but a lot. Put it that way.
That's some Towns frowns right there.
Oh God, it feels so good. So it does. Yeah. So yeah, I have LeBron at 62 and Harden at 60. So we're all. I mean, and there's no difference between those projections for how you play those guys.
Nope.
But it is worth pointing out again. What do we have Harden at on FanDuel? Where it's even harder to get to because shooting guard is kind of juicy. Point guard, as I mentioned, is kind of crappy. Shooting guard,
yeah.
You got D'Angelo Russell in there and infinite minutes, Fred VanVleet, and still a little too cheap, CJ McCollum, and now viable again, Lou Williams. You want to? I like Lou Williams a lot.
Yeah, I like Norm Powell a lot.
Yeah, I like Norm Powell a ton too. So what is he? 49 on FanDuel or whatever?
He is 48.
Yeah, see, that's a very good price for a man who's gonna run that much. So, but like Lou Williams is always Lou Williams, and the matchup with Houston, I actually really really like. I like it even more now that we have no House and everyone's a little bit thinner there, and you're gonna get all that. So, Lou Williams is gonna be all of 4% owned because DFS has the memory of a gypsy moth, but with it's not Kawhi out, but there's still no Paul George, and dude's not going to be owned. So, yeah, I would get over that. When I say like a lot, I'm saying as a tournament play, respective to what I expect to be mid-single digit ownership. So let me contextualize that. But I have a feeling ownership. I will look rather than keep asking you to look stuff up because I'm capable.
It's fine. I have it right in front of me at all times.
Okay. Well, anyhow, Lou Williams we have at 3.7%. Yeah, that's my point. I'd want to have 10. Like, I don't remember offhand the over-under in this game, but it's 230 something or other. And, it's Lou Williams at 4% owned in a massively fast game. If you've played fantasy basketball or watched basketball, there's not much more context necessarily in that. Again, especially FanDuel. By the way, what's his FanDuel ownership? Like, I bet it's still higher, but I would say it's still going to be single digits.
I'm grabbing our most recent update right now, but I can't imagine it's high.
It's still 4%.
Yeah, there you go.
And the price on FanDuel is was it 72, 7 somewhere? He's in the 7K range. 7 on the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can get on top of that number pretty massively in this matchup. So, like having me some of that noise.
Guys, perfect time. We're at the midway point. Hit the like button. Very helpful for us. No fun giveaways for it. We're not going to break the slate or break the site at all today with likes. So
that what happened? Is that what happened? Do we know the genesis of our issues?
I know nothing. I was away from it too much.
Isn't the ignorance great? It's like whatever.
All I know is I had a lot of DMs. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's not important. Hit the like
Yeah,
button.
I want to
subscribe the
apologize
channel.
ahead of time for all the times that people are like, "Oh, this thing isn't working." I'm like, "Well, the guy you want to talk to is Josh Engelman, because you're my go-to for like I have a lot of people who like think I have some authority or responsibilities around here. No, I just grab a microphone and chat for an hour a day and watch basketball for 6 hours a day. That's it. That's my whole job." So people are like, "I'm having trouble logging in, and my Slack is tied into your Instagram and the what." I'm like, "You know who you need to talk to? That'd be Josh Engelman. He's a nice man. Here's his message. Have a nice day."
That is me.
Yes.
Quick plug. NBA ownership rankings free today. NFL and NHL ownership also free. So if you're playing NHL, you've got 26 minutes to go look at some NHL ownership. If you're playing NFL this upcoming weekend, perfect opportunity to go check out the NFL ownership because that will get locked down again tomorrow. Go take a peek and see where everybody stands. Whew. Is there anybody we haven't touched on yet? I'm just looking at these games. If with Teague now, Andrew Wiggins is just fully off the table, correct?
Yeah, at his current, yes, at his current price against the Spurs, I would probably hard pass there.
Okay. And then
keeping in context that Jeff Teague available does not directly translate to Jeff Teague starting and playing 30 minutes. So there is a range of outcomes there. There is a spectrum upon which we all lay. So, just saying, keep an eye.
That's a good point.
See how that goes. Keep an eye. But assuming you get anything resembling normal Jeff Teague at that price in that matchup. Spurs made him look bad last year. I'm trying to remember exactly. Remember watching those games and going like, "Oh, they don't have an answer. Oh, they don't have an answer." Because I with Towns and Aldridge, you guys are really. So I watched every minute of those games, maybe more than once. So, I remember thinking like, "Yeah, this isn't going well." So they played 4 times last year. I remember that there were numerous blowouts. I have this weird feeling that they actually blew out the Spurs once too. I'm just going to look this up while we're talking. Go ahead and move on to something.
Sorry, I'm just going to delete Dave's ugly food message from Slack.
Done. I'm not. Once the show starts, you are my link to the Slack in the outside world. I don't look at it because I try to answer everyone and it just screws up my research and alerts and all that stuff.
I hear you.
I don't mind Grant Williams on FanDuel.
Yeah, same.
35.
I mean, the minutes kind of just have to be there, at least in some form or fashion.
Right. I am at 29 right now.
That's more than I've got him at, but that also not going to matter all that much at that price tag.
Yeah, he's flat minimum. The matchup is brilliant.
Yeah.
And, there's nothing wrong with getting to the more expensive pieces. It's site dependent. I'm perfectly fine getting to Kemba. I'm perfectly fine getting to Jalen. I actually really like getting to Jason Tatum. I do think there's a big game boiling there. I like his individual matchup the best. So he's the one I'm probably targeting sort of the most there.
Okay.
Of those other pieces, but I really like getting to, high 20s in minutes Grant Williams, who's going to play a couple positions and, FanDuel minimum price, where again, FanDuel, the value is much more specious.
So much value tonight. So much value.
Yeah, it's so I honestly, again, this is overly simplifying a complicated thing, but when there's so much great value, play the pieces that are less owned.
Yeah.
Like I think JaVale McGee is a great piece of value. I'm setting myself up for failure by mentioning JaVale McGee twice extensively in the same show. But if he's to be 7% owned and there's going to be 20%, I don't know, let's go with Ben McLemore, play 7% on JaVale McGee. Find a way to go there. In the long run, that is going to make you more money. Like it's not like, and again, I've gotten to it with people on Twitter quite a bit today. Don't get me wrong. There was I got 6,000 messages after yesterday's show, and 5,994 of them were positive and complimentary, and it was a really enjoyable experience. But like 6 people were salty as hell, and one of them was like, "Oh, Corey Joseph was a great play in that spot. You're an idiot." And I'm like, there are salaries and there are ownerships, and yes, if he was 30% owned, I'd have been like, yeah, I probably want a little more. If he's 20% owned, I would have been like, oh, you got to smash this dude. He's probably going to play a ton. He was 65% owned to me. And this worked out on a 1-day sample. The correct play was to play absolutely 0. Over time, I think that would be your highest ROI play. Now, I'm not saying I'm necessarily right. Lots of other smart people who work here, I know, played massive amounts of them. Someone told me Alex played like 98% or something.
Alex and Adam both had 98.
Right. And those are a couple really smart dudes. So I say, not at all tongue-in-cheek, there's a very good chance I was just wrong. And the fact that it happened to work out on a 1-day sample is completely irrelevant in that conversation. So but just understand it's frequently it comes down to ownership. So if you think like Kyle Kuzma, I get the argument being like, yeah, but I feel a lot better about Kyle Kuzma than JaVale McGee. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And if you get positive news in that Kyle Kuzma is all systems go and we're going to let him run and you have no reason to expect otherwise, that's different. That feels really, really solid. But like Ben McLemore is still Ben McLemore. In a like it's just like Corey Joseph is still Corey Joseph. Kyle Kuzma has demonstrated he can get out there and put his thing down. Ben McLemore has demonstrated he can have a slightly better than floor seat to watch James Harden and Russell Westbrook. Those are,
Ben McLemore should be happy that he's still in the league.
Yeah, he's screwed up some opportunities, and I no personal impugnment towards the man, but like, yeah, I mean, he's not incredibly good at basketball. Like 31 is really cheap, but in one lineup, I would rather play Austin Rivers, certainly on FanDuel, where he's actually the floor. On DK, even at $600 more, I have him for, I think, 4 minutes less. I think you get high 20s out of him versus low 30s out of Ben McLemore. He costs more. He's also much better at fantasy basketball. Again, he does not get to, on this team, do everything that he can. Austin Rivers is not great, but he's better than Ben McLemore and repeatedly could put up double-digit assists in a game. That's not going to happen with constant Westbrook and Harden running around, but I would still be more inclined to go there in a single lineup, but, a quarter of the ownership. So just, it's a little different. And obviously there's not just good and bad ownership. There's again, a broad spectrum of crap in the middle, and Kuzma at 4,100 is obviously way towards the top. If you think you're getting anything like 30 minutes against a terrible team at $4,100 with a guy who, takes a shot every 90 seconds. Yeah.
Not a lot that can go wrong at 4,100 for Kuzma.
Yeah, exactly. So everything else is I'm sort of setting him aside, but then when you talk about the less, locked in ownership, but, and then there's just the conversation that you don't necessarily need that many 3X guys when you have 46 Teague and 56 Rozier and some of your best plays on the slate at Bryan at 65 and Aldridge at 66 and D'Angelo Russell with a real chance to be the highest scoring player on the slate at 81. Like,
we just got another ownership update. Nothing too crazy. Kuzma 43% on DraftKings. Rondae Hollis-Jefferson 65 on FanDuel. And we got another super chat from William Stevens. The 3v3. Are you ready?
Shoot.
Green, Kuzma, Bertans.
Which green?
I don't have a clue.
Horford, okay, I'll try to subtract the prices in my head. Go ahead. Green, Kuzma, Bertans. Go ahead.
Horford, RHJ, Okogie, FanDuel GPP. This one just became really easy once I saw the sixth name.
Yeah, first one.
Yeah. You can't drop scores on FanDuel anymore.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, if Teague is in, Okogie is just nah.
That's impossible.
No thanks. Like I'd Culver before I Okogie'd.
Right.
And I don't really want to Culver.
No, it's not the spot. I would imagine that when I've been running my crunches, Okogie is not even a part of my player pool.
Yeah, and it's not crazy, but it's also like Spurs, and it's really interesting. We have a couple of there were a few around the league wide open who will start at small forward in training camp, and two of the more interesting ones were because it's been a really weirdly difficult position to fill this year with injury, and there's so the two of the more interesting ones were in Houston, where everyone who was vying for that job is out. It was going to be either Gerald Green or Daniel House or Eric Gordon. Yeah. There are three choices at the start of training camp for starting small forward. They're all injured. And then you have Minnesota, who had three guys, none of whom got the job because Treveon Graham started there randomly on that opening Wednesday. You and I were on the air, and you went, Treveon Graham is starting, and I was like, what?
I was like, I don't even have him projected for minutes.
I had him. I remember because I had him for 8, and I'm like, I think they give him a rotation based on some comments. And I remember, but I was like, I can't believe he started. Like he was behind Layman and behind Okogie and behind third name that's Culver for Tennessee to get that job. So he took it from 4th place. So it's just interesting NBA. It's fantastic. I like us taking questions on the show because again, we precede us with stuff, and it allows us to get into takes and get into conversations and sort of bounce around.
Yeah, we have plenty of time to take questions now. It is almost 6:45, so we can take questions from here on out.
I'll load the tweet deck up. Let's do that.
Tommy G, probably not that one, in Slack says Capella or Joval.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for bringing those guys up. I really like both those men. Clint Capella's Clint Capella is going to be the most overpriced player on DraftKings one of these days soon, because he is in the middle of going through the complete cherry spot as far as a center scheduling against teams in this league. He is literally playing the Clippers tonight, which is really good, and his last 4 games were uh, Pelicans, Bulls, Warriors, and something I'm struggling to remember. But literally, he was really bad to start the year and had several really bad matchups.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, oh my God. It was just like one of those things where it's like your fantasy football playoff team schedule is really nice. Like, he had a nice streak there. So dude is mauling with 45 or 50 in 3 consecutive games. And is in another great spot to do so. Now, I've projected over 40. I really like Clint Capella. This is just sort of my warning for 1 or 2 or 6 days from now, where he has a bad matchup and costs 8,300. Clint Capella is a very runs what's blocked kind of guy. There are guys in the NBA who aren't like that at all. They're difficult. It's just like, yeah, he's going to go up and put up 60, and it has nothing to do with how good or bad the matchup is. And then there's guys who are more runs what's blocked, which is like, yeah, when they get in a really good spot, they do tend to pound it.
They do.
But they really go out there and put their thing down bad shots. Clint Capella is a very, when the opportunity is there, he will go out there and get his numbers. And the opportunity is very much there tonight. Even with the injuries, can trend him up a couple extra minutes. But he's been getting 36 plus, I think, in all those games. So the question was Clint Capella or Joval. Boy.
Yeah.
I love them both in their matchups. At their prices, I really have them ranked point per dollar about the same. I guess I will say Clint Capella because it's similar point per dollar ranks. I will take the guy who costs more, which is sort of a corollary. There's a bit more of a downside for J-Val with minutes. But if the money does anything for you and you like your lineup at all better, I'm just fine running J-Val in there. Matchup is brilliant. Big island spot for them as well. I believe they're a day on one side and 2 on the other side as far as their schedule goes. So I don't know if this is the day you get 29, 30 minutes out of J-Val, but it really could be, and he's going to wreck face.
It's going to happen eventually.
Very positive indicators in my notes against Cody Zeller. Let me see if I can pull down. Boom, here are the last 3 games he played against Cody Zeller. Actually, these aren't terribly relevant because Cody Zeller was not playing a lot of time in any of these games. The one in which Cody Zeller played 25 minutes, Jonas Valanciunas played 29 and had 18 points, 13 rebounds, steal, and 2 blocks. But Cody Zeller's time here isn't significant enough to count this as relevant. But 21 and 9 with 2 and 1, 17 and 10. So like just J-Val really good. 6K is pretty cheap. The problem is 6K is on DK where everything is just preposterously too cheap, and I like the value centers so much. So, I probably would be a little more inclined towards Capella, but no issue with you running out either of those men. Great question. Thumbs up. You get a Biden.
Sort of the same question. Of the 3, JaVale, Capella, Bryant, who do you like on FanDuel?
It's not Capella.
No.
I like Capella a lot. 9K is a far cry from. It's going to be Bryant between those 3 guys. I don't mind JaVale McGee, but I have him very similar to Enes Kanter and Dwight Howard as far as those pay down options, and I would rotate between them all quite a bit, with probably a preference of based on what I expect the ownership to be. Probably I'd go McGee a little bit more than Kanter, and then a reasonable step down to Howard. But I also like Marcus Gasol at 5,600. Like I would spread out center a lot if I was playing on FanDuel today.
For sure.
But I will probably take Bryant just because, again, 50-point Bryant game here does not shock me. So I will take Bryant among those options.
Okay. Triple J or Tatum on FanDuel?
Yeah, I totally forgot about speaking on FanDuel. Okay, because Triple J on FanDuel and DraftKings are slightly different quantities.
Yeah, he's priced just a little bit different. It's weird.
It's a scotch. It's 48 and 7, right?
On FanDuel, he's not even showing up for me right now because his price is so
I think
stupid.
He's 48 or 46 on. Like I totally forgot about him because he just fell into.
He's 7K on FanDuel, and oh god, it's so stupid on DraftKings.
It's 48 or 46. I'm sure it's in the high fours.
48.
Yeah, it's 48. Okay. Yeah. So on FanDuel, sorry, the question was Jaren or who?
Tatum.
Take Tatum.
Yeah, it's Tatum, and it's not close for me.
Yeah, I mean, when they cost the same amount now on DraftKings,
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous. Like, you kind of don't need him, but yeah, I like the ceiling is massive there. Now, in fairness, it's been all of 5 days since he's gotten in massive foul trouble. So Judge Judy gif, it's about time for him to get 11 fouls in 2.5 minutes. So, and there's lots of other good value, but I'm curious what we have his ownership projected at, because 4,800 against Charlotte is preposterous. It's ridiculous. I don't know if it's more ridiculous. It's slightly less ridiculous than Rozier. That's about as ridiculous as Jeff Teague, and about as ridiculous as, it's not as ridiculous as Kyle Kuzma. But it's like the third or fourth
on
DraftKings. Okay, fine.
Which
That's
is exactly
fine.
well, I mean, it shouldn't be lower than that.
It's right, exactly. Like, the ceiling is enormous, but so is for 11 other value plays. But the ceiling is really, really big for a guy 48. The matchup is really good. That's about where that should be. No problem. As you were, internet community. Well done.
We got another super chat from One Thing Needed. I'm not entirely sure what this question is, but maybe it'll make more sense.
Great.
Harden and LeBron fading Towns in DK cash? ?
Yes, I think it is fine to have your DK cash lineup have Harden and LeBron and not Towns in it. I would not have Towns in a cash lineup. And I know many people would. I just, if I'm spending up, I would rather play a lot of guys. I'd rather play 8-1 D'Angelo if we're counting that as a spend up. I'd rather play LeBron. And how many spend ups am I playing in my cash lineup? I don't hate Towns in your cash lineup. He's really, really cheap. But again, you haven't projected in the high 50s. I haven't projected in the high 40s. It's a slightly different ball of wax. But I imagine my DK cash lineup would be Russell, LeBron, Aldridge, Bryant,
Rozier,
I would not have
Harden
Rozier,
in my DK
guy.
lineup,
So I just don't think Towns would make it into my lineup. But it's not like he's a wretched pick, and there's a ceiling there. But cash, I mean, again, I now I have to look. I'm pretty sure Aldridge fouled him out twice last year, but now I have to look, because again, if he fouled out of 50% of his games against the Spurs last year, that seems like a relevant number to bring up. Again, it's not saying it's likely, but that would be to do. Boom, there. Download.
What do you think of Westbrook and Harden in the same lineup on FanDuel? I don't hate it, but man, that's a tough squeeze.
Yeah, run it back the other way. Make sure to take some guys on clips, but it's not ideal for. I don't think it's undoable. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. I do think it is inherently not a great use of money, but I think that is maybe not entirely, but to a large degree balanced by the fact that is unique as hell. So if you hit the game where you get 80 out of Harden and 72 out of Westbrook, you are the only person, or one of very few people, who are running that, Jazz. So I'm fine with that.
41 Russell Westbrook lineups on FanDuel. 7 of them contain James Harden.
Yeah, that's fine. That's yeah. No issue with that whatsoever. But yes, 4 games. I have no idea how I remembered this offhand. 4 games last year, Towns versus Aldridge, Towns versus the Spurs. He fouled out of 2 of them. He had 6 and 3 and 3 and 6 fouls. One time he fouled out in 22 minutes. The other time he fouled out in 21 minutes.
Ooh.
Okay. He fouled out twice last year in 22 and 21 minutes against the Spurs. I'm just saying. And I had the distinct memory of, like, again, I don't always quantify, and I don't have anything specific in my notes, just remembering, like, yeah, Towns is having a lot of trouble with Aldridge. So to whatever degree my memories and vague inclinations matter to you, and them mattering a lot, I think would be decent, and them mattering not at all would probably make a whole lot of sense, because, again, it's just one asshole sitting in his basement. But whatever that matters to you. And again, just there's lots of other places to go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same thing with Corey Joseph. Some percentage of the time, Towns is just going to go out and put his thing down, and Teague will be in or out, and it doesn't matter. And he's going to put up 71 fantasy points for 9,300, and I'll look stupid. That is very possible, but there's a lot of other guys who can put up 71 fantasy points tonight who don't sort of give me the willies. So I'm going to look more at the guys who aren't giving me the willies.
Starting lineup for the Clips: Beverly, Harkless, Leonard, Patterson, Zubac.
Okay, I didn't see I mean, it's Shamet being out throwing all the. I mean, that's sort of gone under the radar with everything going on. But yeah, Harkless was not my guess to jump in there and get that work done.
No,
I
would have figured Magruder or something getting just like a spot start.
Yeah, he would have been down the list. I'd have thought he'd thought randomly Amir Coffee before he's anyway. I'm assuming Harkless costs nothing. I think starting is irrelevant. Guys for this team frequently start and play 18 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm not inclined to get to any or much Harkless. If he is the floor, I don't have a problem. If you have 5-10% Harkless, I don't have a problem if he lands in some sort of cash lineup. But I would still have him under minimum price Austin Rivers and obviously minimum price or close to it Ben McLemore, so on and so on. But it's a little bit better for Kawhi.
Man, I did not expect to read those 5 names in order.
That's weird. Yeah, like you said it, and I'm like, wait, who's playing where? Like,
That's well, I was just like, what?
I'm like, it's kind of, again, we live in a world of positional basketball, and Harkless is perfectly mobile, so I'm fine with it. But it's just I didn't expect it. I will just come right out and say that I did not. That's in the Trevion Graham. I did not see that coming. Classification of things for me. That was unexpected.
That's a really interesting defensive lineup.
Well, it's really interesting against. I mean, like Harkless is a very good defender. Yeah. Now, I would have thought you randomly go big and try JaMychal Green, or you I would have gone with other guys, but Houston is one of those really interesting teams in this league, like Dallas. You have to do some weird shit to defend Porzingis and Luka and you have to do some weird shit to defend Westbrook and Harden.
Yeah.
So, okay. Like I can see that working out. He's 3,800 on FanDuel. I don't think I'm terribly inclined to go there, but that game is a bit of a track me. Like it's again. There's many great plays that don't give me the willies. So,
man, that one just really caught me off guard. I was not ready for those names.
Yeah, thankfully not super relevant.
No,
but
not so
yes,
much. It wouldn't shock me if it ends up being relevant, but I don't think that there's anything to glean from it.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable take.
Graham or Van Vliet on FanDuel?
Which Graham? They're both fine.
I would
he
imagine
means Devontae, obviously, because of price.
Yeah.
But yes.
I have essentially the exact same amount. I have one more lineup with Van Vliet than Graham, and I have 2x the field of both.
It's right, exactly. It's very close for me. Based on the ownership, I would slightly rather have the share of Van Vliet. Okay. Just minutes and certitude a little bit, but I would slightly land on Van Vliet more, but nothing wrong either way.
No, like I said, 2x the field on both guys, and it really is separated by one additional lineup, so I can't split that hair in any way.
Nope, wouldn't think so.
And I'm not splitting that hair, obviously, in my lineup, so I would be lying if I was trying to pick between the two. Westbrook or Kemba?
Westbrook.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Who put a question mark on the teleprompter? I have Westbrook by several more points.
Eddie will read anything you put on there.
Go F yourself, Austin. No, sorry.
I have a lot more Kemba than I do Russ on FanDuel. That's the best that I can do for this.
Right. It's a little bit site dependent. FanDuel, it's 99 Russ, 9 flat Kemba. Am I hitting that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, they're like I take that question as a who will score more points.
Yeah.
So there I'm gonna come in on Westbrook. I haven't projected for not a ton more, but I think 3.5 more, 4 more fantasy points. It's a great matchup for Kemba. If you're giving me $900 and where I expect their ownerships to be, I would prefer Kemba a little bit. So either way, I've answered the question.
That'll work. McGee or Curtis Boucher, DK, raw points.
Oh, I forgot about him too. God. I'll take Boucher.
Forgot about Boucher? That's not a great song.
Huh?
No,
I mean, not FanDuel where they're charging him up there. But yeah,
I wasn't kidding before.
I wasn't kidding, barely, but I wasn't kidding before when I said I can see worlds on FanDuel where dude gets there. I can see worlds where Chris Boucher plays 30 minutes and Rondae Hollis-Jefferson plays 24. That's not a shocking turn of events for me. I don't think it's likely, but I think it's possible.
Maybe they'll dust off a little bit more Stanley Johnson today.
Oh my God, Stan the man. Late of Detroit basketball.
6:58 and 30 seconds, guys. 90 seconds to get your lineups in. We are getting there.
I'm looking for news. Is News.
Let's see. Who are my biggest guys here? Kemba, Van Vliet, Graham, Norm Powell, Siakam, RHJ, Dwight, Cantor, McGee. Oh, feeling good tonight.
I really like this one.
So do I. Gotta get DK pulled up. Also, shouts to Fantasy Draft. I'm about to win some money there tonight. So
I have no doubt.
thanks to the presenting sponsor of the show. Time to get ourselves ready. We've got a 2-gamer at 7 o'clock, correct?
How many people did we get tonight? Did you keep an eye on that?
I did. 3,479.
Yeah, we're making progress. We're doing good work.
Told you,
Doing
man.
good work.
Wednesday's main event.
So you say. I would not be so deprecating towards our illustrious colleagues.
Look, sometimes truth is just the truth.
Yeah,
The main
sometimes
event?
there's a dude.
Yeah. We were fighting for the BMF belt on this one.
Are you a big Lebowski guy?
I'm not a big Lebowski guy. Like, I've
Okay.
seen it like a lot, but it's not a movie that I crave.
Okay, that's fine. That's a perfectly reasonable take. You don't have to be. I mean, I'll
Played a
never
big
quite
part in
respect
my
you
youth
again,
more
but
so than now. Like, I probably haven't.
Sure.
I couldn't tell you the last time I saw it. You know,
You've
back in
outgrown
the
it.
day when you didn't have things to do constantly, it would just be on television and you watched it because it was on.
Yeah.
That is not like that doesn't happen anymore. So I see it less. But it's great. I drank White Russians for a stretch.
Delicious.
We locked.
I know. I wouldn't have been talking about Lebowski otherwise.
Sure.
Well, that's not true. I'll talk about bullcrap at any time. I don't know who I'm kidding with that line, but coincidentally, yes, we were locked approximately when I brought up.
Gotcha. Alrighty, so I'm pulling it up now. We are going to play a little game while Daddy likes. This is the big contest today. 100K to first, 450K guaranteed. Wednesday shoot around, $12
DraftKings?
fee. DraftKings, correct.
Yeah, and for those of you who are waiting, no, I will not keep Josh on the air for an extra hour talking about pierogies and snow and stuff.
Yeah, we're not going to be speaking Sputnik on the rest of the stream.
Ah, very nice. Very nice. Very good. We're you and I clearly now it's less acceptable for you, for you are not, age appropriate to have seen those movies in the theaters.
I did not see either one of those. I
saw
saw
them
Rounders
both.
for the first time sometime after Chris Moneymaker won the main event.
03? That was, let me tell you, that was some good money. Of the many careers I've been fortunate enough to have, prop playing online poker between the years 2003 and 2006 or so, maybe a little earlier. Oh my God.
Bought me
Just
a lot of beer and video games.
God, people running into the room like, would you take all my money, please? Like, I'm sure, I guess. I mean, you sure you don't need it? No, I want to give it to you. All right, I will take your money. Thank you.
It was fun additional income to have.
Yeah, it's very similar to DFS from 2012 to 15.
Yes. Yeah.
We're just like, wait a minute, all I have to do is pay attention and not be completely stupid, and I make money while playing poker or watching sports. Yes, I'll have some.
Yeah. It was the only thing that I wish is that, honestly, that I wish that I smoked more weed at that point in time instead of drinking, because drinking made me make way worse decisions sitting at the computer playing cards, where weed, I would just be like, oh man, this is great.
Okay.
Drinking, it was just like, oh, I'm going all in. Let's go to the bar. I don't care what happens here. And then I'd just, I would lose.
I cursed a little bit on today's show, and I worried that with all of our lovely corporate sponsors that I had transgressed a line. But you openly admitting that you were wishing you had done more drugs 15 years ago makes me feel a lot better about this.
Super true statement too.
Oh, I'm not disputing your veracity. I have no doubt that what you say is true. Thou speakest aright.
You ready to do some ownership?
That was a little Midsummer Night's Dream for you there. Yeah,
that one's not for me.
I am that merry wanderer of the night. No, nothing?
Not for me.
Oh, no. Okay.
We have 7 gentlemen in double digits in exposure.
This is the one that kills me.
4 of
All right,
which are significantly higher than the other 3.
All right. So we have which games? We have Charlotte, Memphis, Boston, Washington.
That's it.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
No,
4 of which
Charlotte,
are-
Memphis, Orlando, Philly.
Orlando, Philly.
Yes.
Right. It's not. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Charlotte. Okay, then. Charlotte, Memphis, Orlando, Philly.
Yes. 7 guys in
okay.
double digits.
4
of which
huge.
are extreme.
Okay. Jaren Jackson, Terry Rozier. I knew those were coming.
2 for 2.
I should have. Thankfully, I put down the ownership. I could leave our ownership like up over here and be like, it's. No, make it a little easy. I don't have it up. I have my player rankings up on both screens. Jackson, Rozier. Simmons.
Correct. 3 for 3 so far.
I'm trying to get the 4th big one. None of the others stand out to me as super.
I'll say this much. I'm not confident we said his name on the stream.
Okay, a guy who's good, who was somehow owned, I'm assuming at least 20-something%. $5,900 Al Horford.
That's 4.
Right, but that's the 4 big ones, right?
You are correct.
Okay. Now I'm in trouble. I don't know if I really thought anyone else in this game was going to get to double digits. It's Devonta Graham.
That would be 5.
Okay.
2 more.
I'm lost. I can. Jonas Valanciunas.
No, but he is knocking on the door.
Okay, so he's 9 or whatever. Miles Bridges. That's
correct. 1 to go.
I don't like just punting, but I also don't like looking like an idiot saying the wrong answer 5 times in a row, and there's no one left with any confidence that I thought would get there. I don't think John Morant should get it. I don't think Dylan Brooks should get it. I don't think Brandon Clark should get it. I don't think Malik Monk. I'll say Malik Monk.
Malik Monk, just behind Jonas Valanciunas. You have missed Dylan Brooks. 10.29%.
Oh, screw you. That's cheating. Like, all right, fine. That's. I mean, he's cheap. Everyone's cheap. So it's like late Sunday night at the bar.
So
everyone's cheap.
How owned? Who is the most owned, and how owned is he?
Jaren Jackson.
Correct.
I think you said he was low 40s, which felt about right. I'll say it felt a little high for me on this slate, so I'll run 38.
40.5.
Awesome, better than me again. There you go. Yep, that's fine.
You did nail the order of, you did get the first 4 correct. Simmons, Horford, Rozier.
Rozier's 4th.
Yes. Where do you think they're landing?
They're all gonna have numbers. Simmons, Horford. Like I would have thought it would have been Rozier, Simmons, Horford. So I also would have had that wrong. In full disclosure, I would have put Rozier, who I also like the most of them. In all honesty, I'll say, I don't know, 35, 31, 28.
35, 33, 32.
Wow, 32% on Rozier. That feels good. I'm a fan of that. I do not see a lot of downside there. That is a really nice matchup.
Daddy likes?
Daddy really likes the Rozier number. I would probably be under on, Horford back-to-back, Simmons back-to-back. But again, no Embiid. They're not bad plays. There are no bad plays on draft. If you manage to find a bad play and put it in your lineup today, like if you manage to be like, here's my lineup, and there's a guy in your lineup who I look at and go, I don't think he's a good play for his price, I'd be impressed, because there's not a lot of bad plays on DraftKings today. It's this really interesting, and there is a more heuristic, broad conversation to be had about how your strategy or a ideal tournament strategy would change when everyone is good. As opposed to, there are a lot of great plays and obviously there's still some variation in the lines where you have guys like Rozier and Jaren Jackson and to me, Aldridge and some other guys who are obscenely good plays, and then just other guys who are very, very good plays. But off the top of my head, it would seem like you move on ownership a little more when everybody's super good. Because I presume as the line of production for people starts to move from their average towards their extreme, you get a narrowing effect slightly on the upside and also on the range of production. So it'd make more like I think I could mathematically bear this out, but I'm inclined to think when everyone is super priced, you want to be more reactive to ownership.
Makes sense.
We'll pretend it did, even if it doesn't. We didn't talk about Malik Monk. That makes a lot of sense. Obviously, there's no bacon tonight. And speaking of no bacon tonight, celebrating yesterday's great show and my birthday, which is on Friday, which you guys were nice enough to give me off, I've decided to treat myself. So while we are doing this, I'm going to have bread. You know what's a great thing in life many of you may not appreciate before you get old and fat?
Bread.
Freaking bread. Bread is all right, friends. So
nice crusty loaf.
This is pretzel bread. This is local bakery, really delicious pretzel bread. So I shall break bread with all of you, my brothers in this world. Together on this voyage we share. I say to you, Mazel Tov, Salam Alaikum. Enjoy some bread.
I don't have anything to eat. I could eat a candle. That's really the only thing edible on my desk.
Eat this pretzel bread, for it is my body. I'm just kidding. It's pretzel bread, but it's really good.
I could take a magnesium supplement or theanine. Those are the only things that are on my desk that I can eat right now.
Well, let's see. I've got some omega-1, which reduces inflammation and lubricates joints. We all know how important lubrication is.
I've got some psyllium husk. Makes the poops better.
Let's see. I've got some Astroglide. Oh, wait. That's not appropriate.
I've got maybe 2 stray painkillers.
Trust me. That's, again, yesterday announcing my potential retirement from various things. Under the radar, playing real basketball is becoming a real... It hurts, brother. Don't get old. Father Time is undefeated.
I'm trying
Time
not to.
Lord. Time Lord is sitting out for the night, but Father Time
he was
plays
defeated
every day.
today. Brandon Clark is out, correct? I didn't go back and look. I'm just thinking off the top of my head.
That was not my impression.
Is he in? No, he's in. Never mind. I'm just trying to figure out who played themselves, and I couldn't remember if he was in or out. Because I just knew that he wasn't relevant.
Scared the crap out of me. Like, I have done that exactly once this year, and I despise getting an in-out wrong. I feel like I should never get that wrong. You said that, I'm like, did I?
Ooh, Embiid, you played yourself.
Yes, I'm sure somebody.
Dwayne Bacon, you played yourself. Don't ever
Not
play
necessary.
yourself.
Yeah. By the way, I think it's...
Josh Jackson got into a lineup today.
Wow. You're going deep for that. That's a placeholder. That's a click-through enter. That's a... DJ Khaled making an appearance in the... he's in Coming to America 2. Or Coming to America. He's got a cameo.
Can't wait.
If you needed another reason to go see that movie.
I'm a huge fan of DJ Khaled.
Me too.
Because he is a preposterous human being.
Yeah. He's very entertaining. Is
unintentionally.
Yeah. He is, setting aside any political ramifications, very entertaining in the same way like Donald Trump is, where it's like, geez, how did a human being end up like that? Just without being any other judges, like that is a really unique specimen.
Just forever like Snapchatting himself driving and getting pulled over and stuff out of his mind.
He has a watchable quality.
Oh God, so good. I think
we
that's
get
about
any late
it.
News?
I don't think so.
We didn't get any 702.
Jonas is dominating, is what someone just said in chat. I don't know if that's true. Do we have any idea what's wrong with Vince Carter right now?
No, I heard personal, and I don't know what it is offhand.
He's out again.
Personal.
He's out again on Thursday.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Obviously, we had DSJ was stepmama, and Jimmy Butler was baby born, and all sorts of other personals going on. But I don't know what VCs is off. I'm a big Vince Carter fan. By the
Same.
Story. Talk about unique individuals like that guy. For him, and also I'm a huge fan of. Tell me what these two players have in common: Vince Carter, Brooke Lopez. If I gave you like 10 minutes, you'd absolutely get this one. So take your time. But these are two guys who have I'll give you another one, Tristan Thompson.
All three of them?
All three of them.
I don't know. They all banged a Kardashian.
Well,
I have no idea.
I'm not sure. I have to download my database of NBA players who have banged a Kardashian. Give me a minute. It's a couple of gigs.
You need a whole hard drive. I was like, I don't know, Stanford, North Carolina.
No,
None
not
of this
correct.
makes sense.
They all did things to radically change their game and extend or enhance their careers well into their careers.
Yeah, they're the
Vince
opposite
Carter-
of Carmelo Anthony.
Exactly. Carmelo Anthony's like, I'm me. Me is great. Me was great for a decade. Why doesn't everybody want me? It's like, well, time passed you by, brother, man. You're a step slower doing something that was already kind of limited. Like, Melo was great, but game passed you by. Brook Lopez took I don't know the numbers offhand. I don't remember, but 4 3-pointers in the first 8 years of his career. And then the next year, 12. And then next year, 209 or whatever the hell the number was. He just said, I'm going to teach myself to space the floor. And he did it at a very, very high level. I love that shit. Vince Carter was the best dunker basketball has ever seen, bar none.
Yes.
Until you could get in a conversation where I really think that Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon dunk contest was absurdly good.
Yeah.
That was the best hour of television I may have ever watched. Every time they went, I'm like, that's the best dunk I've ever seen. And then the next guy went, I'm like, that's the best dunk I've ever seen. And then the next guy went, I went, that's the best dunk for an hour. It was absolutely ridiculous. But for the 2 decades before that, Vince Carter was insane. And then he extended his career to have played more seasons in the NBA than anyone in history, where he's a character guy, bench guy, great 3-point shooter, plays better defense. Ton of respect for that. And Tristan Thompson got on the list because he switched his shooting hand once in the NBA.
I don't even think I knew that.
He came into the NBA left-handed and switched his shooting hand.
When's Ben Simmons going to do that shit?
Markelle Fultz, who switches his shooting hand in the middle of his approach. It's left, it's right, it's left, it's right as well. or Joakim Noah, who has no shooting hand. Joakim Noah, who just runs it up there. I will use my pretzel bread roll for that dynamic, or just just the two hands.
Make sure you get that back.
Yeah. No. Thankfully, the rebound came to me, which is the only way I get rebounds at my age.
Wait, is that a real statement right now? He said Jonas already at 18. He's got 6-3-1 that I see.
Yeah. Thanks for, again, the guy who put up the question, because I absolutely loved him tonight, and I did not give him a mention to. That's why I really like the questions. Obviously, stuff will get missed, but there's just not time, especially when sometimes you and I don't get on until 6:05, 6:10 to go through, so I hit the super high notes. But I was a big fan of J-Val. I'm not surprised. That matchup is great. He is also using the S word for the 3rd time today, pushed Cody Zeller's shit in with a fair bit of regularity, which again, I think I brought it before and actually looked up that one. But yeah, that was another head-to-head. They got a nodie in my thing.
And
again,
so what I'm seeing right now, 8 points on 4 of 7 from the field, 4 boards and an assist. Also, hold on. Markelle Fultz has 3 points and a rebound and a steal.
Okay. Oh, that's right. You can go to FanDuel and let me see if I can log in. You can click on the live thing and it gives you their top scores. It's something that's a really nice development for them.
Yes.
They have that thing where just the top scorers are on top and it says here it is. I mean, look at J-Val there. How you doing? It's not insane. It's 30. No. I haven't projected it 1.65 fantasy points a minute in this game or something like that. It's a really good spot for him. I just don't know how many minutes he's going to get. And at 6K, it made a lot of sense. If he plays 24 minutes, it's a really nice spot. But yeah, he's at 2.7 fantasy points a minute or something. So that'll probably calm down. But yeah, no steals, no blocks either. That's just double stats. 8 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist.
Yeah, he's going to need to pick up some blocks or something to make this really problematic. Or he's going to need to play more minutes than we expected.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't consider a problem. I would hope we were over the field on him. I guess I didn't land on him hard enough. I was thinking, I had a conversation yesterday, and I'm just wanted to pose this to you. Someone tweeted me in all the approbation.
I gotta cut you off here.
Do it.
Teague not starting.
Aha! See?
Culver starting.
Oh, God. I said that too, by the way. I was like, I was play one of these guys. I'd play Culver because that game exists. Get him out. Abandon ship. They're like, all right, look, we're going to make you available because we think you feel bad, but we also don't want you to touch anyone because you're very sick, Jeff. Get him out. And join some late slates. That's the big thing. You will now have, what time is that game? Sorry, I don't know offhand.
8.
720. The guy who's not starting. Jeff Teague. Now don't get me wrong. Like he could still get there, and he's really, really cheap. So this isn't a super avoid spot. But like, let's imagine it was, I don't know, Ben Simmons or Kawhi Leonard tonight or something, and they went, yeah, he's not starting, or someone for whom that was a realistic possibility. That guy still gets like 30% owned in showdown slates I've seen.
Would you swap directly to Jarrett Culver?
There has to be some pricing differential.
That's what I was. Teague 46, Culver 43.
DraftKings, you're hilarious. Oh, DraftKings, go home. You're drunk. I'm loading it up because I want to look. That it is not a horrific option. I'm seeing other point guard only options being Bryn Forbes, which is not exciting. Fultz is already locked. Anthony Simmons, it feels a bit stretchy on a slate like today's. If you have $100, all right, so it's Isaiah Thomas for me if you have $300 or you can swap into it. I'm not a massive Isaiah Thomas fan here, but I think there's a very real chance he gets 30 minutes, and obviously there's some motivation to go around there. So if you can come up with $300 in that price range, I'm looking at point guard only. If we extend the conversation to guard, where you may have had him, that opens you up to nothing else. Great. So the question is Culver.
I mean, would you do that just out of the gate to switch that lineup and then do some more work?
Sure. Right now, if you're sitting here, I'm fine with you going all Teague out, all Culver in, and now looking to see if you can double swap. Because I imagine a lot of places you can make double swaps to get into. Not super high on Alec Burks. If you can free up 1,200 combined with what you can get plus what you had sitting around, you can get up to Marcus Smart. If you can 1,300, Teague out makes me actually like DeJounte Murray a little bit more across the ball. Again, I'm not a big fan of 24 damn minutes, but he has managed to make 26 once apparently, work for him a few times this year. So against Minnesota in GPPs, if there's a spot in which I'm going to go there, yeah, that makes a fair bit of sense. But yeah, I'm fine with you just going click right now while we're looking for double swaps. But heat locked, Fultz
there's not a lot at the bottom there to get excited about. If you have an extra $100, Derek White for 4,700, I think is reasonable.
Yeah, tolerable. Again, this is a really nice matchup for them.
Yeah,
like I don't mind landing on Spurs in this spot at single digit ownership. But also, by the way, what did we have Andrew Wiggins projected for? Because your swap may be like
ownership.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like it was like nothing because you had $8,100.
4 on DraftKings, 8 on FanDuel, which is weird.
Right. So those Wiggins performances were not completely random.
No.
Like I do think those represented somewhat ceiling games, but over the last 4 games he had more than 20 shots in 3 of them, more than 30 shots in 1 of them, was playing in the high 30s in minutes and was consistently really good. So at 8K, I don't think many people take this news and swap into Wiggins, and I'm obviously on record as being sort of contrary to town. So yeah, you want to really spice up your life, Jerry style. You find a way to get Andy in there because he looked good. I don't know what to tell you. And dude may very well take 30 shots. So especially if you don't have Towns. Yeah, I would probably try to see if I could find a way to get Wiggins into my lineups.
Did not see this one coming. Well, I mean, I'm not surprised that Teague isn't starting, but I didn't expect it to break like this.
No, but that's it's assuming you are paying attention. That's nothing but good news for you.
Okay.
I
think that's probably the mark where we should be signing off.
I don't know. I would sit here and do this all night just as news breaks, but
I'm starving. We still have 1,100 people, so hey, for the 1,100 that are still here, thanks for sticking around for an extra 23 minutes. You guys should all hit the like button right now. That'd be really
We
cool.
had how many likes did we get? I'm curious.
I don't have something up that shows me that quickly, but I could pull.
Oh,
it
okay.
Up.
No,
No, I
fine.
can pull it up quick. I just have to pause it before it starts playing. Nope, I didn't do it. The Wayfair commercial started. 564 only. That feels light.
That's like 1 in 7 people. I think it's played out a little bit.
That's
Like when
also
we're
true.
not giving anything, where we beg for likes twice a show, and sometimes we give stuff, and then other days we're like, just give us a like. They're like, no, give me stuff. But like, so I think it might be played out a little bit.
Also, shouts to DubK84 who had to go to the doctor today to find out if he had ding dong herpes or shingles. Just shingles.
I'm
I'm not kidding. This was a discussion in Slack today. Then I posted my picture of shingles.
I'm sorry, ding dong herpes.
That's the way that he wrote it.
God bless America.
Yeah. So on that note, guys, thank you for joining us. Shout out to Fantasy Draft for being the presenting sponsor of this show. I'll just assume that you guys pay for the first hour. Big day of content again.
People
tomorrow.
really like the second hour. We had 1,000 people through 8 o'clock yesterday.
That's so awesome. I think we have got like a relatively normal size slate again tomorrow. What's the 14th? 6-gamer tomorrow.
6?
Yeah.
This week was like 8-7, 8-6.
Yeah.
You know,
we go
been very nice.
6-8-8 up until Saturday, and then next week is 6-9-4, 11-2-10-10. 2 is stinky.
Am I on that day? Is 2 Thursday?
Yes.
Yes, sweet. I get paid for 2-game show. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to do some real analysis. I am going to do some real analysis. Like, I'll pay a lot of attention to those 2 games. But
what day of the week was that?
2-game show.
The 21st.
That is a Thursday. I know that because the day after tomorrow is a Friday. The 15th is my birthday.
Well, that's an 8 o'clock start too, so
Nice.
FYI. But we got to get out of here because live before lock, Ben Rasa, Jason Roslin,
right,
PGA
golf.
edition for the Mayakoba
Yes.
Golf Classic coming up in 35 minutes. I'm going to put some food in my belly and then come back and produce for those boys. Eddie, anything else?
Bread is good.
Bread is good, everybody. Go eat your bread. Get that gluten. Glutens are good for you, I heard. And we'll get out of here. Later, everybody.